Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
You're lucky I'm here. I don't deal with pawns.
And also joining me in studio, you know him. He is the senior sports editor of the ODPH. He is your coach. He is my coach. He is the coach. Coach Duffy.
I am sorry for the delay that it took me to get downstairs. I had to use the restroom for cramps.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss in the land of sports, so definitely thank you for joining us, and definitely join in the conversation on social media. You can find all our accounts and so much more at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. So definitely head on over, and always remember to use the hashtag ODPH. So shall we kick off this episode talking a little football, gentlemen?
Sure.
So let us go into our NFL week recap, otherwise known as our locks and leaps. So, Pat, kick us off.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with my lock. Good Lord, I saw this and I could not pass it up. I chose the Seattle Seahawks to defeat the New York Jets, and holy good God almighty, did they ever. Russell Wilson, they won by the final score of 40-3. Guess I should give that first. Russell Wilson, 21 of 27 for 206 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sam Darnold, 14 of 26 for 132 yards passing, no touchdowns or interceptions.
Coach, your thoughts?
Well, we shared this,
Yes.
so I do want to note that real quick. But, yeah, I mean, you just knew that after the performance that they had against the Giants at home, that they weren't, A, going to have back-to-back losses at, their stadium, and B, you knew that they were going to try and put on a show against the down, on their luck Jets team, and That's exactly what they did. I mean, this was a game that they needed to come out and perform well and essentially work out some of the rust and kinks that they've had as of late. And they did that. I mean, it just goes to show, obviously the Giants were my leap, so we'll talk about the week to week. But, it just shows that the offense for the Seahawks is still at an elite level, that the Giants defense just had a good game plan that, they weren't able to execute on. The Jets just are a bad football team, so they were able to do what they wanted against them.
Yeah, no, this is just absolutely, no disrespect to the Jets, but this just for Seattle seemed like a tune-up game, where you see it in college football a lot, where you'll get like big name, AAA, high, big school, like the Alabamas or, the Ohio States or the Michigans or whatever, that like the first week of a normal college football season, they'll go and schedule like some D3 school you've never even heard of that they're paying, 6 figures for them to come in and get their ass handed to them. This had all the writings of that, and holy Christ, did it ever live up to it. Seattle definitely got the running game going a bit. Chris Carson, 12 carries for 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Carlos Hyde, 15 carries for 66 yards, no touchdowns. And then receiving was pretty well spread around. Nobody had a monster game. DK Metcalf, 6 catches, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyler Lockett, 5 catches, 52 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, but you just look at the box score: 7 in the first, 16 in the second, 14 in the third, and a measly 3 in the fourth quarter.
Alabama would have gave Seattle a better run for the money than the Jets. The Jets,
yeah.
I'm sorry, we're now back on the tank for Trevor bandwagon. This was an abysmal performance. We knew going to Seattle it was going to be a tough game for the Jets just to even contend. But this is a joke. I mean,
and the thing we got to remember is this Seattle defense isn't exactly anything to write home about. They're terrible in pass defense. So I figured I figured the Seattle would cover the spread, but I figured the Jets would score more than 3 points for the entire game.
I figured the Jets might score 17. I was giving them that. But they obviously have just completely mailed it in. Sam Darnold could not figure out this defense.
No.
Well, I mean, the thing is like that's the thing that's been so puzzling to me. When we did our season preview, you saw they still have Bobby Wagner. They go out and get Jamal Adams. Mm-hmm. They had a good secondary. So you really thought like defensively they would be better than this, and just through the first 4 weeks, the defense was playing serviceably. And then, once Jamal Adams got hurt and he was out for like that 4 or 5 week stint, and the defense just fell apart without him there.
Right.
And now, obviously, he's back, healthy, playing better. He's their leading pass rusher right now, a safety.
Yeah.
Well,
they made that point during the Giants game talking about how often they rush him off the edge. And it was like, you just don't see that very often from a safety having to be their number one blitzer.
Right, and Jamal Adams is loving playing in Seattle. He has 8.5 sacks for the season, which is the most sacks in a single season by a defensive back.
How crazy is that stat?
Well, then they go out and get Carlos Dunlap, who was released from Cincinnati, who, you thought, all right, new team, winning environment, he'll pick up steam because obviously that's what tends to happen. These guys go on waivers, they get picked up by winning teams, and then all of a sudden they start to produce. Look at Marcus Golden in Arizona, was on the Giants, got traded for a 5th-round pick, wasn't really producing, then goes to Arizona and, has played pretty well, especially in this game against the Giants. So, you just thought like, all right, you'd see a better performance from him. He has been lackluster, and the defensive line as a whole has been bad. It's just that's how bad this Jets football team is. Like, I don't think that people are really understanding. Like,
they're bad.
This is Detroit Lions 0-16 bad. This is arguably worse than that.
I would say so.
Which is the most puzzling thing because you look at the offense. They went out. They drafted 2 offensive linemen the last 2 years. They've got decent wide receivers. They've got the Roby. They got Perryman. They've got Crowder. They've got some weapons, and just none of them click.
Well, it all starts with the top, though.
Right, and that's the point I was about to get to. It's literally, it all falls on Adam Gase, and we say it week in and week out. It's astonishing that this man still has a job.
Oh yeah, no, just because, like you said, it's astonishing how bad they are. Because you figured they'd be able to squeak one out at some point here.
Usually
right set of circumstances, the right, whatever you want to say, that they'd be able to squeak one out. But Christ Almighty, I don't think they're going to win one.
No, they're not going to win one. You can definitely tell that they're tanking. I'm sorry.
That Oakland, the Las Vegas game was theirs for the taking.
Sure.
I also, obviously, the Denver game earlier in the year, you thought there might have been a chance there. The Patriots game where they were up, you thought that had writings on the wall for the Jets to sneak one out. They always tend to do that.
Well, they were destined to lose that one. It was my birthday.
Sure. But, now you're looking at the schedule. They got the Rams, the Browns, and the Patriots again. That Week 17 matchup with the Patriots might be interesting from the standpoint of who knows what the Patriots will be looking to do.
I know from SportsCenter was talking a couple weeks, maybe like a week or two ago, and they were looking at the percent chance of the Jets winning, potentially having a chance to win the game, and the only one that I think was decent, and it's a very loose use of the term decent, was the Cleveland game, where I think at the time they had like a 31% chance to win the Cleveland game, and that's because, let's face it, you don't know which Cleveland team is going to show up.
Well, even if it's a bad Cleveland team, they still beat this Jets team.
Yeah.
The Jets find a way to lose, and like we said, it starts on the top and works its way out. Adam Gase, the fact he's still got a job is mind-blowing, but I think that they have just fully bought in on the season's a wash.
Well, it's not. It's just, I watched a bad Giants team under McAdoo that year when they went into San Francisco, and we did the show, and I was like, they're not going to fire him. There's no way that, the Giants don't operate this. They were going into the bye week that week, but I was like fully fledged on, that this isn't the way that organization operates. Mm-hmm. They're going to ride out the year. McAdoo's going to be, let go in the offseason, and they fired him on the trip back from San Francisco. So it's like anybody can be fired, but I don't understand what. You can have anybody be the head coach and still lose games. Like, I don't believe the notion that they are tanking on purpose. I know the Greg Williams thing looks bad. However, there is history that shows he does do that type of thing before. So, you can't chalk that up to Greg Williams was in cahoots with the tank.
Well, no, I don't chalk that up with that. I just look at the consistency of effort that they put in putting out week in and week out.
Yeah, but I don't think it's. You got to think their defense has 0 drafted players.
Right.
They're all undrafted free agents that aren't rookies, but they weren't drafted going on to this Jets team. You know what I mean? So they've traded Leonard Williams. They traded Jamal Adams. What do they keep getting back for these guys? Picks. What do they use these picks for? Not for defensive players. So their defense is literally just shambles.
It's a complete shell, which I agree with. But looking at them week in and week out, the effort isn't there. There's no motivation. There's no self-pride in this team. I'm just doing...
you can't put any effort when you just don't... at some point, you got to have talent.
Oh,
right?
I agree, but I'm saying for the offense even.
Right.
See, this is where I'm kind of more focused on with that.
The offense, though, at some point, all right, Darnold is, question mark on him.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a 38-year-old running back who, you had one of arguably the top 5 running backs in the backfield prior to the season in Le'Veon Bell, who you couldn't use properly.
You didn't know what the hell to do with him.
You didn't know what to do with him. That's your offensive gifted genius coach who did not know how to use, Le'Veon Bell. And now, all right, to play devil's advocate, did Le'Veon Bell come in with the best of intentions to the Jets?
No.
One could argue no. He came in overweight, what have you, whatever. But, a lot of players come in overweight, especially from the running back standpoint. And as the season goes on, they fine-tune, they get in shape. But they still didn't use them right.
Yeah.
You had, decent wide receivers. You let Robbie Anderson go. You still have Crowder. But do you go out and get anybody to help your, young quarterback? No. So it's like... But this is Gase's thing. This is what he should be able to put Darnold in position where he can be successful, and he's not.
And he's a head coach that, for all the offense, and he's a great offensive coach, and this and that he came in with, you would figure it's easy for him to go get a receiver, because a receiver should go, hey, this is an offensive-minded guy. I'm going to catch a lot of balls. Or even a running back, if they didn't get Le'Veon Bell, should go, I'm going to get a lot of touches with this team. But now you look at it, nobody's going to want to go near that team.
Well, now the problem is, fuck. They are up Schitt's Creek without paddle.
No, they're going to need somebody to come in there and completely tear the foundation down and rebuild.
Because if you let Trevor Lawrence Adam Gase touch Trevor Lawrence,
he's gone.
I'm gonna lose my mind, because that is going to be somebody that's going to be a lot of fun to watch at the next level. That you are going to let one of the obviously just dumbest head coaches in all of football touch, and you're going to ruin him.
That's what I don't think he does. I think that this team, you can definitely tell by the effort, like I was saying, that they're just completely on autopilot and the ship is going down. It's sinking in the ocean. They have nothing on both sides of the ball that is really exciting to anybody. So if the only challenge about coming to this team is how can I completely rebuild this foundation, but you have to have somebody that's going to be patient and be willing to trust the process and create a culture there.
Well, it's like coming to the Knicks.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be a complete tear down to retool to rebuild.
Completely, because you can tell by the efforts they've been putting forward. And like I say, I'm excluding the Greg Williams game. But every time they're coming out, they're looking flat on both sides of the ball. And for the offense, it falls on Adam Gase. For the defense, you're right. They don't have players. But that's their own doing. So your offense needs to do something to kind of balance it out. They can't, because they're not good.
No, they're sinking like the Titanic, and I'd say that, but I feel like that'd be an insult to the Titanic.
Yeah, because they're completely looking like they're tanking. This is just the eye test to me. It looks like they're tanking. Just you can see the effort, and no matter what the offensive quote-unquote guru is doing, it ain't sticking.
Christ, they only had 12 first downs for the entire game.
Yeah, and Seattle is not the Legion of Boom like it used to be.
No, God, no.
They have a good defense. It's not great. But the fact that you can only put up 3 points.
Well, and as bad as Seattle's, like I said, as bad as Seattle's passing defense is, that it's, one of the worst, if not the worst passing defenses in the league, you're only able to put up a paltry 116 yards passing.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Sam Darnold ain't exactly a Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. He's not going to sling the ball deep all day and whoever's open. And his receivers aren't good, but you would still think with a passing defense that is as bad as Seattle's is, that they'd be able to scrounge up something, or that they'd lean on it.
You would figure they'd be able to do something, but obviously they can't. And they're going to go 0-16. And then if Adam Gase has a job by the end of that week.
If he has a job by Monday after their final game, I'll be astonished.
There's no way he can. And if you're a Jets fan, you need to start planning on your future, because
and especially the thing with that, because Coach mentioned their final game of the season is against the Patriots. That is in New England on the 3rd of January, so there's a very good possibility there could be a blizzard going on.
Well, but that on the flip side of that, it'll be interesting to see where the Patriots are too.
Oh yeah,
because do they play Cam? Do they play one of the other quarterbacks to see? obviously the quarterback position is a position of need along with wide receiver in New
Yeah.
England.
Oh, yeah.
So do you evaluate what you have and sit him and let him play, or do you play Cam going out to close the year?
Knowing Belichick, he's going to play Cam.
Yeah, he's going to play Cam, especially since you look. I know Cam's only on a 1-year deal, but you look at the other prospects out there, and none of them are looking entirely enticing.
I mean, what do you? Whoa, easy. This is a deep ass draft for quarterbacks. If everybody leaves that could leave, this is a deep ass class.
Well, and Patriots are currently sitting 16th in the draft right now.
Yeah, you might not get the first round Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, but I mean, there's Ian Book who will be there, who would definitely be a New England style guy, who I guarantee you Josh McDaniel would thrive with. And then you got the kid from the North Dakota kid.
Yep.
You got him, who everybody loves. The Utah kid. So there's a lot of the Trask. From Florida could
Trask
go.
comes out, yeah.
So there's a lot of guys who this draft class might be super deep if everybody goes.
He could be super deep, but I'm just thinking Belichick's way is I'm going to go with my starting team, and I'm going to go with the best chance to win. That's why I said, I understand what your point is, too.
Yeah.
And the logical thing is, go see what you got and then reevaluate your talent, but this is Belichick.
Sure.
When he was 16-0, he still played his starters on meaningless games.
Yeah,
So
but that game, I mean, that game when he did that was for a reason. He wanted to put his best team out there because he wanted to keep them peaked.
Yeah.
You know?
But like I say, I just fully trust that Belichick is going to come out there ready to win. And I think for the Jets, no matter what, I think the Patriots wouldn't get a fair shake of who they had because I think at that point they're laying down. And this is just my optic opinion for it. So we'll have to kind of wait and see when we get to that point in the season. But for Seattle, they roll on with a much-needed win. The Jets are the Jets. Enough said there.
Yep.
Next up, Pat.
For my leap, I chose the Las Vegas Raiders to defeat the Indianapolis Colts. However, I was not right. The Colts won by the final score of 44-27. Phillip Rivers, 19 of 28 for 244 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Derek Carr, 31 of 45, 316 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Coach, your thoughts?
I mean, the Raiders obviously went out and fired their defensive coordinator immediately after this game.
Yeah, they didn't
What's
wait.
crazy is that Gruden, family friends with this guy for over 10-plus years, coached on his brother's staff, coached on with him in Tampa Bay. So obviously a long-term connection there. So, very interesting move to say the least. The Raiders defense has obviously been, not great all year
They've been
towards
suspect.
the bottom of the league. Yeah. And, I mean, this is a big win for the Colts that needed it, especially the fact that Tennessee, on the flip side on the East Coast, went out and beat Jacksonville pretty handedly. So, I mean, this was as close to a must-win for the Colts as they're going to probably get, and they got it.
Pat?
Yeah, no, definitely a big win for the Colts. It keeps them in the race for the playoffs. It makes things a little more interesting for the Raiders. Colts are currently sitting at the number 6 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Raiders currently sitting at number 9. Good game from Nelson Aguilar, I got to say. 5 catches, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. On the flip side, though, great game for Jonathan Taylor rushing for Indianapolis. 20 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Woof.
The one notable thing before this game happened, though, was whatever was going on with Josh Jacobs. And during this, he came out, he was said to be active. Then he went on his Instagram and said he wasn't active.
No.
And then magically before game time, he became active.
Well, this goes back to the troll that when he didn't score that touchdown in Cleveland, the guy went on Twitter and DM'd him privately, messaged him and was like, blah, my fantasy score. And then Josh Jacobs was like, I don't give a shit about your fantasy team. That's what this goes back to, is because he was questionable. He knew that he could take advantage of this and mess with, all these fantasy players. So, I mean, there was intent. Like, this wasn't a Raider, back and forth. This was him trolling those people.
See, okay, well, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Like, when I first read it, I was like, wait, what is going on
Yeah,
here?
you thought it was confusion. No. There was 100% commitment that if he could go, he could go. The Raiders organization was, knew it. He did what he did on his own. And, I mean, obviously had some implications for some fantasy owners. But, I mean, he hasn't been playing well anyway. So, I mean, really, if you played him against the Colts defense, who's arguably one of the best rush defenses in the NFL, then you're not a very good fantasy player because he shouldn't have been in your lineup to begin with.
I agree, because that's what I was going to go with, too, is like no matter what was going on, the tempo wasn't right with him going in, but he didn't have a great breakout game. And going against that stout Colts defense, which nobody is talking about.
Don't break.
that
I love that
could-
mantra.
Yeah, they completely exposed Vegas, which was so wild to see. And then to flip out the ball on the offensive side, T.Y. Hilton, thank you for coming back to the league.
Thank you for my fantasy team.
Yeah, 86 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, T.Y.'s always been around.
Yeah, but now he's finally like
Philip Rivers can't throw the ball more than 15 yards, so it's difficult to get T.Y. Hilton the ball when he's only running streaks.
Facts.
is true, but he is now like finally getting back into the stat race here, and you can definitely tell that he's putting up some numbers. So Philip is finally making the connection with him.
Yeah, like Michael Thomas, he recalibrated. He's slant.
Exactly.
Say we're 14 weeks in, and T.Y. Hilton finally has his second highest receiving yard game of the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, like this move to Philip Rivers, we all, it was
a Band-Aid.
It was a bit, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
this was a sidestep. We all thought Jacoby Brissett was a fine quarterback and serviceable, and obviously has a better arm. But they felt like Philip Rivers gave them a better, probably game management style quarterback than Jacoby does, and who's to say that they're wrong? Because now they're sitting 7-4 or something like that.
9-4.
9-4. In control of their own destiny as long as they continue to win.
9-4 and in the 6th seed.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it was the right move because last year they did not have this record.
No, they definitely didn't. And I think Rivers, like you talked about, brings stability to that
Yeah.
position, and that's something they need, especially with a young running back in Jonathan Taylor. Your wide receiver core has been hit and miss, even though now he's finally figured a way to hit T.Y. Hilton with the ball. They now are picking up some steam to balance that offense out with the defense. And they're going to be one of those teams that when they get in the playoffs, it's not a matter of if now, it's when.
Yeah.
They're going to be a scary first-round matchup for whoever they face.
I could definitely see him, screwing around a little bit and playing spoiler for some team that figures they're going to be easy win.
Yeah, it depends on who they're going to be, because if they're currently ranked 6th, they would face the 3rd seed, and I think that's actually Buffalo at this
That
time.
is currently Buffalo.
So that is not going to be an easy game for the Bills, and for Indianapolis, it's definitely a winnable game too.
Sure.
This is something that we have to watch with this team, because with the Colts now, they're obviously chasing Tennessee. They're right behind them. They could definitely sneak out the AFC South title if they play their
that
cards.
South is up for grabs.
Yeah, it's completely wide open. So they're going to be showing up week in and week out. The Raiders, though, has to be deflating for this loss.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they lost to the Jets, I think that would have been backbreaking, but they should have came out and just completely turned the ball upside down and put up about 30 points themselves. Lackluster performance on their offensive side. That's all you can really take away from this. Their defense, we've said, has been suspect all year, and we got what we paid for with them. That we knew it was going to be a little struggle, and they definitely did not balance out. I know Gruden's now making the big switch with defensive coordinators, but for that offense, I mean, the fact that Nelson Aguilar got 100 yards,
Yo.
I mean, it is what it is. But when your mainstay weapons, the ones that show up week in and week out, are not even cracking 30 yards, I think there's a little bit of a problem and a little bit of disconnect.
Yeah, this AFC South is going to be real interesting to watch because I looked up the schedules for Indianapolis and Tennessee. Indianapolis, the last 3 weeks of the season, is at home against Houston, travels to Pittsburgh, and then at home against Jacksonville to close out the year. And then Tennessee is at home against Detroit, travels up to Green Bay to play the Packers, and then closes out on the road at Houston.
It's going to be a fun race to watch there in the AFC South. So definitely a lot of building blocks to go on. That being said, another race that we're definitely keeping our eye on is the NFC East.
The thoughts, views, and opinions upcoming are that of Coach Duffy and do not necessarily reflect that of the ODPH. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have that today.
I'm just prepping it just in case.
Ted, go ahead. Give him the 2. I took the Giants.
Yep, Coach took the Giants to defeat the Cardinals, which did not happen. The Cardinals won by the final score of 26-7. Kyler Murray, 24 of 35 for 244 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Danny Dimes, 11 of 21 for 127 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions.
In a season where Joe Judge has essentially been flawless as a first-year head coach, this was his first hiccup. And I want to preface this by saying, no, I don't think Colt McCoy gives the Giants a better chance at winning games. No, I do not think Colt McCoy should be the starter the rest of the way. No, I do not think that they should bench Daniel Jones. But this game should not have had Daniel Jones play.
I'll tell you what should happen. You should have double covered DeAndre Hopkins. Holy fuck!
No, he scorches the Giants. That's just
9 catches, 136 yards, but no touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, first off, the Dan Jones thing. He was hurt. If he can't run,
He shouldn't have played.
He shouldn't have played because you limit his ability to be effective on the field when he is unable to run, and when you don't have to have the defensive line play coy and have to spy on him or contain him, and they're able to just rush him. He does not have the pocket presence enough right now, which for saying that for a second-year full-time starting quarterback is like mind-boggling, but he doesn't have it. So he got strip sacked twice, and I mean that's a bad performance. I mean, not to mention the fact the Cardinals secondary, although it is an elite secondary, the Giants wide receivers got nowhere. No one was open.
No. Golden Tate, 2 targets, 1 catch. Sterling Shepard, 5 targets, 3 catches. Darius Slayton, 8 targets, 3 catches. Evan Ingram, 4 targets, 2 catches. Wayne Gallman, 4 targets, 3 catches. And then Caden Smith, 1 target, 1 catch.
Yeah, I mean, you take away the ability for that read option that had made the Giants so dangerous with Daniel Jones being able to use his legs. So, and I mean, you go to the flip side of it when they played Seattle, Colt McCoy, although he didn't play a Pro Bowl level game, was serviceable. So that was just a bad decision by Joe Judge to think that his starting quarterback was ready to go. He should have made the strong opinion and said, Dan, we're going to sit you one more week. We're going to go with Colt. He gives us a better chance of winning this game because he's healthy, you're not, and go from there.
Yeah.
On the flip side of it, defensively, the Giants' defense played great. I mean, you talk about average starting position for the Cardinals in the first half was the Giants' 43-yard line.
Oof.
The 43. So that means the Giants' defense was already with their backs up against the goal line the entire possession, and they held them to start the game to 6 points. To the first 2 quarters, 6 points.
Right.
Then, I mean, as Jonathan Vilma so elegantly explained, watching the game, my wife turned to her. This was the 4th time the Giants had played defense, starting within that that side of the 50. I said, if the Giants are going to give up a touchdown in this possession. She goes, how do you know that? I go, they've played defense too much with no break. They are going to break. They can't. It's inevitable. This is the 4th time within the red zone. There's no way they're not going to score. So they score. I said that was the backbreaker. If they would have stopped them, all the momentum would have been with the Giants because it would have been like, we've been in the goal line 4 straight times, and you have not scored. Like, you kick field goals. Bend, don't break. We've got momentum. We can stop you. We've got you dialed in. They give up that touchdown. Then the next drive, Jonathan Vilma on the color commentary, if this, this would be the Giants' worst possession, defensively, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, John, you play in the NFL, and this broadcast is terrible right now because they already gave up a touchdown. They already broke, Now they need to try and just salvage what they can. They had a great possession. Kyler Murray throws something off his back foot to the back of the end zone. Just a please, Lord, somebody catch this on my team. Logan Ryan playing his own, lets the tight end get behind him. Dan Smith, touchdown. That was it. I knew right then, 15-0. I was like, this is game. The Giants are toast. Or this was 20-0. I was like, this is toast. It's a tough loss, man. It's really, I mean, it's frustrating from the standpoint of this team had everything on their side. They controlled their own destiny. They have the tiebreaker against Washington. They just go to Seattle and beat the second best team or third best team in the NFC, arguably Super Bowl favorite, Seattle Seahawks. And then you come back home and you have this team that you should have had up against the ropes, playing very bad. I mean, Arizona's trending down right now. The Giants were trending up. And you have nothing offensively. This is not, 26-7. I know people are like, oh, the Giants defense. No. The defense played on their freaking heads this entire game. This is not the defense's fault. It's 100% offense. The Giants defense right now, to me, is one of the best defenses in the NFL. What they're doing, James Bradbury, my God, dude, what a pickup. I killed them in that pickup during the offseason. I was like, what are you going to do with a 30-plus-year-old cornerback? He's playing like a Pro Bowler, shutdown corner, one of the best corners in the NFL right now. I know DeAndre Hopkins had 130 yards, but that was in the game plan. Let him feed, shut everybody else down.
Sure.
Their problem was they were not able to contain Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray found a little bit of his swagger.
Yeah, he got 47 yards running.
And there was a couple times where the Giants had them on a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 7, and he was able to, as Jonathan Vilma, the second play, as he called it, he was able to extend plays with his feet, get outside the pocket, break contain, run for the first down. and fuck, it just killed him because Russell Wilson didn't do that.
Right.
You know? And this is what I was telling him last week. Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray are two totally different quarterbacks. They play similarly, but Russell only uses his feet when he needs to, which he did not do against the Giants. Kyler Murray was like, no, I'm going to run.
You know, I totally agree with you when going back to Daniel Jones' point. If he wasn't at 100%, they should have played him. Because it's not like a lot of other positions in football where if you're not at 100%, you're maybe at 75%, 65%. There are guys around you that can kind of back you up and help you out. If you're an offensive tackle and you're not at 100%, there's, 4 or 5 other guys on that line that can, kind of cover up for you, take the load off. The same can be said on defense, wide receivers and running backs. There are other guys to help you out. That's not the case with quarterbacks because when you're on the field, you're all by your lonesome. You're on the middle of an island with nobody to help you because, you've got guys around to help catch the ball and do this and do that. But if you can't, do your reads and look and throw as far as you normally do or throw as hard as you normally do or maybe scramble around it like you normally do, it's just not going to work. The game starts and stops with you. So if Daniel Jones wasn't at 100%, they shouldn't have played him. And like you said, it's Joe Judge's first hiccup, but it's his first time at a major coaching position, so this was bound to happen at some point.
The minute the Colt McCoy wasn't behind center, it was over. Daniel Jones wasn't right. That's why I'm going.
Right. The problem was he practiced well.
Yeah, but
and that he got blinded by that.
That's the problem that you're touching upon. Joe Judge made a mistake, a very costly one for this season. In the sense of that deflated a lot of momentum and their first place charge for the NFC East. This came back to haunt him very badly. And I understand that he was going with his gut and this is something he saw in practice and he was sold on. But this is where he should have used better judgment and said, think little long term. I mean, short long term.
Yeah. 100%. This was a game where, he's not Tom Brady.
Right.
Like Tom Brady with one leg is still better than arguably 75%. Drew Brees with one arm is still better than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. Daniel Jones, just if he can't run, he's a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And it was tough to watch because you could just tell that he wasn't 100%.
And he might have practiced well, but the thing I think Joe's got to remember is that like practice and game are a little different.
They're two different.
Day and night because when you're in practice, you're practicing for the game and you're game prepping and all that, but the guys on the defensive side aren't exactly looking to take heads off like you get in a real game situation. And
especially in this situation where the Cardinals are scrapping to try to get that final playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
They were coming definitely with a mission to really play spoiler here. Not so much spoil in the sense of, the Giants were heavily favored, but they knew what we were getting with the Giants, and the Giants are better than their record shows. And for the Cardinals, they definitely needed that win because now they're still in technically second place in the NFC West because the Rams and Seahawks are now 9-4.
Mm-hmm.
But them being now 7-6, they need a little luck to get in that playoffs. This was a win they needed to do. Kyler Murray looked like Kyler Murray because he actually got over 40 yards rushing. If he's doing that, they're winning that game because he's doing the little things that are helping them. This is a situation that, for the Giants, backbreaking.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Can they still win the NFC East? Anything is possible.
Well, they've got, obviously Cleveland coming up now that got flexed to Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this last week on the show that the Giants had a harder route, to close out the year with games against Cleveland, Baltimore, and the Cowboys. Pat, I hope you're pulling up Washington since I just named off the Giants schedule.
I'm pulling it up now.
But the Giants, have a tough road in that game against Cleveland. Who knows what Cleveland you're going to get.
Yep.
And you got it?
Yeah, so Washington this coming Sunday is at home against Seattle. Next week they're at home against Carolina. And then the final week of the season they travel to Philly and play the Eagles.
So, with the way that they're trending defensively, they're playing the San Francisco could have won that game.
Yeah.
But, Washington's offense could not move the ball against their defense.
Alex Smith, 57 yards passing.
Yeah, all the touchdowns were scored defensively or special teams. So, San Francisco puts one in the end zone, and now we're talking about a different game.
It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, so, and the Giant, the Cleveland game, is it winnable? Trying to be a biased sports podcaster guy, I'm trying to think no, the Giant, Cleveland's going to win this game, but my Giants fandom comes through and I'm like, Why can't they? I mean, Cleveland did look good against Baltimore. However, the Giants' defense is better than Baltimore's defense, and the Giants' run defense is better than Baltimore's run defense.
I maintain you don't know who's going to show up with Cleveland. You look at this game Sunday, where were it not for a boneheaded defensive game plan and a safety when they really didn't need to give one up, could have won the game against Baltimore. But at the same token, this is the same team that put up like 30-7 or whatever the hell it was on Tennessee by halftime, and then almost blew it.
Right. So
the one thing, and I want to get to the Baltimore-Cleveland game after we get done with my picks. Cleveland might come in there with a little too much swagger for Sunday night.
Could be.
And I think that you have a definite shot with the Giants to play spoiler.
Well, I mean, it's not even spoiler because the Giants right now are fighting for their lives. I mean, the thing that makes me feel optimistic is I read today, and it kind of reminded me, I mean, Blake Martinez played Kevin Stefanski, hundreds of times. Well, not hundreds, but like 8 times.
They're familiar with each other.
Yeah, they're familiar with each other from his time in Minnesota and Blake in Green Bay. So he has a familiarity to that offense. The head coach, Ketchum.
Freddie Kitchens.
Kitchens. It is Kitchens. Is the Giants' defensive line assistant coach. I don't even know. But he's
coach,
there. Yeah, so he's there. So he has a familiarity to the players. He might not know the ins and outs of what they're scheming, but he knows the players. So that will help. So there's a level of a familiarity between the two, between the Giants team that I hope, hedges its way to the Giants.
According to ESPN's Football Power Index, currently Cleveland has a 52.7% chance to win the game. And then the money line is currently Cleveland by 4.
So you're saying there's a chance.
And in case you're curious, the over-under is 45.5.
There is a definite chance, and I will break it down
under.
when we talk about the Baltimore-Cleveland game. But first things first, we got to talk about Tennessee and Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
And Derrick Henry had a day.
He sure did.
Thank you for my fantasy team. So Tennessee won the game by the final score of 31-10. Ryan Tannehill, 19 of 24 for 212 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Gardner Minshew II, 18 of 31 for 178 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Mike Glennon, 13 of 23 for 85 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then Derrick Goddamn Henry, 26 carries, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Coach, really anything to take away from this game?
I mean, what can you say other than Tennessee's peaking right now?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I know I've said it a lot, but it's just you talk about teams and trending, and right now, yeah, Tennessee had a few bumps in the road along the way, but as you approach week 15, week 16, week 17, you want to be trending upwards, and that's exactly what's going on with this Tennessee Titans team right now. They are 100%.
Yeah, no, Tennessee's looking real good. They appear to be falling back on what worked for them in the playoffs last year, feed Derrick Henry everything. But they are also getting Ryan Tannehill involved, and it's looking very good. I mean, A.J. Brown, holy shit, 7 catches, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. So they appear to have everything going for them.
Yeah, this is just completely Tennessee football. Jacksonville is trending in the wrong direction. I mean, just the fact that we saw Minshew come back in and he wasn't going to do anything against this team. Tennessee is coming in with a mission because they know that they have to beat the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
They have to maintain a level of consistency. They got it because once you get Tennessee's running game going, chances are they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
And the fact that Derrick Henry had a monster start to that first half, it was over by halftime. Derrick Henry single-handedly broke the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Ryan Tannehill got 212 yards passing and 2 touchdowns was just a cherry on that Sunday. Tennessee going upward, Jacksonville downhill. The tank for Trevor Race is still going on between them and the Jets. They're hoping for a miracle there. But if not, Fields coming out of Ohio State wouldn't be the worst addition to Jacksonville either. So just putting that out there. But let us get to my leap, though. Shall we, Pat?
Sure. You chose the Buffalo Bills to defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers, which they did by the final score of 26-15. Josh Allen, 24 of 43 for 238 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ben Roethlisberger, 21 of 37 for 187 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Coach, I'll let you get some thoughts in.
I mean, you want to talk about a team trending down right now as Pittsburgh.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what the hell is going on with them. I mean, defensively, TJ Watt is still playing very well. Minkah Fitzpatrick is back there playing very good defense in the secondary. They obviously have 2 shutdown corners. So it's perplexing, their inability to get somebody, stop somebody on defense. And offensively, I mean, shit, what can you say? It's the Big Ben show right now, which is a problem. They got to get James Conner the ball somehow. Tony Snell, you talk about these elite running backs, whether it's Saquon or, Christian McCaffrey, behind them are these guys that just want to run the goddamn ball and they want to run hard because they know they have to. So, all right, if James Conner's not running at elite level right now, whether he's hurt or the holes aren't opening for him at a level, a level he likes, get Tony Snell the ball and just let him plow people. Let him get that the Dada spinny wheel mouthpiece going and let him just make that thing spin because he's breathing so hard. And the Bills offensively, yikes. Stephon Diggs
10 catches, 130 yards, 1 touchdown.
Sizzling right now.
Yeah. No, Pittsburgh, it's just they got to figure something out. I think offensively, to use a baseball term, they're slumping in early September if we're using baseball terms, which is not what you want to see. There's, this would be one thing if they were kind of slumping and having some issues scoring some points. It's like the middle part of the season. But the fact they're doing it, it's week 14, not a good sign. And I think defensively what's hurting them is the loss of Bud Dupree because I know they threw up the stat during the broadcast, and I forget what the number is, but between him and TJ Watt, they had monster numbers. And I was talking with a friend, admittedly, should know, is a Pittsburgh fan, so slight bias, I think. But he made a point, and I think it made a really good point. Pittsburgh, when they had Bud Dupree and TJ Watt on opposite sides, it was working gold for them because you look at how things were going. Who the hell do you block or double team on that? Because you double team one side, let's just say you double team Bud Dupree, all of a sudden you got TJ Watt coming on the other side. All right, well, shit, we got to double team TJ Watt. Well, then you got Bud Dupree coming on the other side. Now without Bud Dupree there, because he tore his ACL, he's out for the rest of the year. There's no longer a question for any defenses of who you got to block looking for a pass rush. We know who's pass rushing. It's that guy.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured out what to do, and they haven't patched it yet.
Pittsburgh is banged up, and they're limping into the playoffs.
Which is not good.
It is not good. The series of unfortunate events here is just injuries are now haunting them. Their running game is non-existent, and this is not Steeler football.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
This is just completely abysmal, if I can use that word. Ben Roethlisberger is the catalyst for your offense, but you're asking a lot for him at his age. And I know he's still got some zip on the ball. I was talking with some Steeler fans online about this. But he is trying to do too much because he doesn't have that run game to balance him out. On the flip side, though, Buffalo got a big win. Take nothing away from that. Josh Allen looked like the real deal after a very rough start to that game. Very defensively back and forth, but the Bills could not get the offense going. Albeit, though, somebody up in Buffalo must be listening to this podcast because they actually made second-half adjustments.
Wait, did they put that in their lexicon of terms?
They might have to, and I expect to get some compensation from Bills Mafia about this, and you're welcome.
You'll get some free tables.
I don't mind free tables. I can definitely use them. Because we finally looked like we made adjustments on the defensive side of the ball, and we got a couple plays that went our way, but we also made Pittsburgh bend but not break us. So when we do that, it gives us a lot of time on the field to definitely get something going. Josh Allen definitely started picking apart the Pittsburgh secondary. And my question, I guess, which was most puzzling about this is Stephon Diggs was left open, wide open, for a good majority of that second half.
Well, Pittsburgh played a lot of zone coming out of the second half, which, I mean, it's, the team, the Giants did that the week before, to kind of to take away DK Metcalf for the Seattle. What they do, it's blanket coverage. You got the guy underneath and you got the guy over the top. However, when you have elite, and DK is not there yet. So when you have an elite guy, when Pittsburgh came out and started running zone in the second half, like Stephon Diggs is and DeAndre Hopkins with Arizona, they find the soft spots in the zones. I mean, that is why, for as great as the Tampa 2 defense is, you don't hear about it anymore because these elite wide receivers are able to just dissect it because they are able to, find the spots in the zone that are soft, whether it's the corner routes or the hitches where they don't fully hitch, they kind of sit. Those type of things that the Buffalo Bills were able to do, especially in the second half. You got it. Pittsburgh then should have probably gone man. I mean, that's the thing that boggles me is that you've got really good corners. And Minka Fitzpatrick over the top. Why not just play man?
Yeah, it was puzzling to me watching because as a Bills fan, I'm excited, but I kept going like, how is Diggs that wide open?
Well, that's why.
Yeah, but it was just something that you figure that Pittsburgh of all teams would make adjustments.
You'd
for.
Right.
think.
Well, and I mean that's what works against these that's what works for these offenses like the Bills. They don't mind, Diggs getting 15 yards down the field and being open versus vertically stretching the field and making sure that, like Tampa Bay, well, we got to throw, Mike Evans streak routes only. It's no. Find the soft spots in the zone. Just take what the defense is giving you, and eventually you're going to work your way into the end zone.
Yeah, and the Bills definitely were taking apart that. They were definitely making a case that they should be considered in the elite of the AFC. And I will tell you what, I like the way they're gelling right now. They definitely need to get one more win, though, and I'm hoping it's this Saturday against Denver because I know we got the Patriots and then Dolphins lined up after. Mm-hmm. I definitely would feel more comfortable getting that win against Denver, and then I think they lock up the AFC East.
Yeah.
And if they can just ice that early, I think I'd be very, very more comfortable with it because obviously going into those final 2 weeks is rivalry games. All bets are off. And for Miami, who is still lurking, even though I think they're outside looking in, that's still going to be a game that is going to be circled to watch.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
So that being said, I definitely want to give a shout-out to Kansas City because I said last week if you had let the Dolphins beat you, I was going to tear you apart on the show. You came through in the clutch.
Well, they almost did.
They almost did. And the only thing Miami had to celebrate was the fact that their undefeated season is still there 40 years ago. But in the words of Miss Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately?
I mean, listen, I know you've got this rivalry going right now, but I mean, you got to give it to Miami. I mean, they were down 20 plus. And fought and clawed their way back into this game against the defending Super Bowl champions?
See, I don't think it's the fact they fought and clawed back. I think Kansas City took the foot off the gas. I'll stick to my guns about this one.
Oh, my God.
All
right.
Ever the Bills fan. Can't even give him one.
Oh, I'm not going to give them one because what Kansas City did is they did what Kansas City usually does. They're down early, then they hit the gas, and it's like boom, 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 boom. They put up, 28 points unanswered?
That's weird because I don't remember many games where they've been down and all of a sudden kicked on the gas. I remember them being up for most of the games and then letting garbage time touchdowns.
No, playoffs. I was thinking last year.
That one game against Tennessee when they were down? Right.
They've had a few that they've done. A few in the course of the Patrick Mahomes era.
What happened in that game against the Tampa Bay? How would that play out?
Well, I can't win them all, but for majority of them.
But I mean, they were up big for most of the game.
They
right?
were up big, yeah.
Yeah,
that's the point. They were up big, and then they just kind of let Miami sneak back in and get some garbage time points.
Oh,
and then of course the interception that Patrick Mahomes threw, the one guy from Miami did the one-handed grab.
I love his quote after the game was great though. That he's got this love-hate with the Hard Rock.
Yes,
that was fantastic.
Yes, but they wound up pulling off the win. But Kansas City did not look like Kansas City old in this one either.
No.
Though. I mean, granted, they got up to the big lead, and then they said they just kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit.
I think it was more Miami playing better.
Well, Miami's defense played better.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, their defense, their offense is still trash. I'm still not a fan of.
Oh, how do you feel about Tua?
Tua, I'm still not impressed with. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Like
He is unimpressed with that performance.
I think that Tua has been an adequate quarterback, but I don't think that I will still say this. I think that they should still have had Ryan Fitzpatrick in there when they took him out. Like, granted, he got the 300 yards. I mean, this is the second time he's gotten a 300-yard game since he's been starter.
Something like that, yeah.
I think Tua has been arguably not a great rookie quarterback, but I mean, I don't know if I see Canton. Instilled in him, but
it's a good rookie season, but admittedly the sample size to compare it to to look at the numbers and the stats, it's not that big to look at.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not that big. Like I say, he is a good quarterback from the time he's been put in. But I think for the anointing that he's been getting, I think is a little too much too soon.
Well, I can say that what they can do with that Houston first rounder plus theirs is go out and get some goddamn talent.
Well, as soon as they go get some talent, depending on what they're going to wind up doing with it, yeah, I mean, they can definitely try doing something. But like I said, their offense doesn't scare me. And maybe trash was still a little too strong, but I am not impressed by it.
I'm just saying, wait. I mean, that they're going to target Smith out of Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're 100. There's already the connection there, the chemistry for him and Tua. That so that will be him, Devontae Parker on the outside with that other wide receiver sprinkled in. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, well Gesicki's their
Yeah,
tight end.
the
but
tight
yeah.
end, Gesicki,
Yeah.
the tight end too.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami might be trouble for you guys.
They might be, but I got to see something out of that running game, and I haven't seen that yet.
Well, maybe they'll get a running back next
Have
year.
him come up to New England. Half of our team is from Alabama.
Exactly. Like I say, I think their offense is overrated. I think that might be a better word than trash.
Okay, all right.
But I'll say they still haven't shown me enough to really write them as real contenders because I think they're just contenders.
yeah.
Yeah, but for everybody that was anointing them and going to the playoffs, it's like
I mean, that's just poppycock.
Yeah.
That's silliness.
I saw the percentage of them getting into the league. It was what 35% to get to the playoffs.
They're-
And
So
now it's less than
they're currently sitting at the 7th seed, and that's because they win the tiebreaker over Baltimore based on best win percentage in conference games.
But
Yeah.
then it was looking at the head-to-head schedules. Baltimore more or less has a cakewalk into their.
Hey, they play the Giants. That's
Like-
not a goddamn cakewalk.
I'm pulling up.
It'll be a-
the
it'll be a
respective
nice, good slice of cake.
schedules. Yeah, they play they play Jacksonville, Giants, and then Cincinnati. So that's 2 easy wins in there.
Not the Giants.
I wasn't saying the Giants.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
And then
I am.
Miami, and then Miami to close out the year has New England, the Raiders, and Buffalo.
So the odds are in Baltimore's favor, and definitely they have something to build off of the momentum of Monday night.
Until they lose to the Giants.
Well, we have to wait and see. But this past Monday night's football game, though,
Holy cow.
Pad, you got the stats up for that.
Yeah, so Baltimore ended up winning a real wild game by the final score of 47-42. Lamar Jackson, 11 of 17 for 163 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
One bathroom break.
One bathroom break.
Yeah.
He had 9 carries for 124 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, averaged 13.8 yards per carry. And then on the flip side, Baker Mayfield, 28 of 47 for 343 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
So the takeaways from this game.
Vegas made out with a lot of money.
Yeah, Vegas did very well. How that points flipped there was absolutely crazy. But the takeaways that I had from this game is, one, Baltimore can still play. Everybody was writing off for dead, but they're still in this.
Mm-hmm.
And Baker Mayfield looked like the kid that we've been expecting him to be since he got drafted number 1.
Sure.
He had played probably his best football game, I think, as a pro.
Kareem Hunt, 77 yards catching. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 74 yards catching. Rashard Higgins, 68 yards catching. Jarvis Landry, 52 yards catching. David Njoku, 45 yards catching. Nick Chubb, 21.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll say is, and what I like that this Cleveland offense is doing now, and they talked about it on the broadcast, is, and you saw it, play action.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I've talked about this with Eli. It's just play action, just it opens up the offense to the ability of, you know, the defense, especially when you have a good run game, has to respect that. So they can't focus on a pass rush because they have to stay home a little bit to stop the run. Cleveland's run game is ridiculously strong. I mean, Kareem Hunt, Chubbs, very dangerous 1-2
yeah.
combo.
That's a nasty
You know,
one,
so
too.
when you get them going, you get them running downhill, and I saw it. I mean, some of Chubb's runs were like so efficient, just the way he was able to patiently gain, you know, advantage in the hole and everything. So then you talk, now you're going to run play action. It's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous, but it's something that teams are going to have to game plan for. And for Cleveland, this was a good loss, if I can say that, because Baltimore has dominated them since they basically came back into the league. They've given the Ravens some fits from time to time, but this was the one that obviously after they played each other at the beginning of the year, this was a big statement win.
Oh, yeah.
Or a big statement game that they almost pulled off. I mean, obviously a couple plays here and there did cost them. But for Baker, I would take this with a big boost of confidence that for a team that has given you fits, you actually looked like the real deal here. 340 yards against them, nothing to take away from.
Yeah.
And for them moving forward, it's the direction they need to go in for the playoffs. Like I say, it's a good loss, which is weird to say, but for Cleveland, they needed this because I think that now they're going to go on a little bit of a tear, and then who knows where they're going to wind up in the playoffs. And for Baltimore, this is a big momentum win as well, and definitely keeps them in that playoff talk. And I completely foresee them. I'll take my hatred for Miami out of the equation. I fully see them taking that 7 spot.
I could say it.
And I think their strength, the schedules are going to play themselves out.
Especially with Cleveland, their final 3 games are at home. They travel to New York to play the Giants. They stay in New York the week after to play the Jets, and then they close out the year against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, which are all winnable games.
I'll say so. Obviously, the Jets game, you know, they should in theory win.
Yeah, we want to talk about trash offenses.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry. That's the benchmark.
Giants game, who knows? Giants could sneak that one out, and then Pittsburgh. It's hard to say.
Well, the one thing with the Giants game, like I was touching upon, if Baker is still full of himself and thinks he can turn on the magic without doing the work, then I think the Giants are going to pull the upset on him. I really do. It just depends on how he handles this week and how he's getting a lot of praise throughout the media.
He's got to stay grounded.
He's got to keep his head grounded, and his teammates have to keep him level-headed too, because if they start getting to the Cleveland of old where he gets all amped up over hearing how great he was, then he's going to have a bad game, and then they could come in there and think they're overconfident against a Giants team that is a lot better than the records is. Coach, I gave him credit.
Thank you.
But it is still going to be something we're going to have to watch. I mean, that game's going to be circled, and then if Cleveland comes out like they did against Baltimore, it's going to be an early night for the Giants. But it all depends on how Baker is going to show up. If he starts doing a little too much flash, a little too much pomp and circumstance there, they're going to be in trouble. If he comes out and plays real good football and just keeps handing the ball off to Chubb and Hunt, he'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
And so will the Browns moving forward. So many storylines coming out of the NFL this week, but definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your takeaway from this week's games of the NFL? Week 14 is in the books. Let's discuss, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Need a podcast that prepares you for the end of the world? Apocalypse Now is the one for you. Hi, I'm Joanna Van Fine, actor, comedian, and filmmaker. Apocalypse Now is a podcast that asks if we are living at the beginning of the end. Join me every week as I talk with interesting people and decide if we're all doomed. Listen wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Brought to you by WannaRub.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the second segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and time to talk a little basketball.
Basketball is my favorite sport.
Now, there was a big contract extension that happened right before we hit air. So
Carmelo signed a lifetime contract with the Knicks. Oh, wait, sorry.
I'd be okay with that, but no, that's not the one we're referring to. So, Pat, you got the numbers there?
Yeah, so Giannis Antetokounmpo signed a supermax extension with the Milwaukee Bucks to the tune of 5 years, $228 million. Should note there is an opt-out after 4 years.
Essentially drying up the 2021 free agent class.
Yeah.
So let me pull that up.
I mean, it's not good. Paul George was slated to be a free agent in that class. Giannis, Devin Booker had already re-upped his deal. He was set to be a free agent at that point too. I mean, it's not looking promising. So
It's
the
not-
Knicks' dreams of having all this cap space down the toilet.
Are all for nothing, but the only thing that I'm fully trusting Leon Rose and what he's been able to do there.
Well, it's like I said 2 weeks ago. At some point, you're going to have to accumulate these assets for picks.
Yeah.
You can't keep – the Philadelphia route inevitably plays itself out. You have to – the Boston Celtic blueprint for what they did around Paul Pierce, that's the blueprint. Accumulate these first-round picks, have a budding star, whether you think it's RJ or Obi or whatever, and trade for solid players to be around them. And that's what they have to do with these first-round
They
picks.
could always bring back Tim Hardaway Jr. He's a free agent next year.
Pass.
Yeah, we'll pass on that one. No, I agree with you, though. The free agency market that everybody was clearing cap out room is just dried up very quickly. And I think for Milwaukee, I'm more puzzled that Giannis stayed. Not taking anything away from him because he's always been a loyal guy to the Bucks. But I guess where I'm coming from with this is, what talent do you have up there, or you think you're going to get up there to substantiate a run to the finals every year?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what they did so far, which was adding Drew Holiday,
Yeah.
which was tremendous. And, I mean, he still has his right-hand man, Chris Middleton, who I think was huge too. I mean, Chris Middleton is very an unsung type player that, played well when Giannis went down in that series against Miami, that I think, honestly, given the fact that now Drew Holiday will be running the point and they'll be able to use Dante DiVincenzo to start instead of come off the bench, who's a very good shooter, and another ball handler to add in that lineup, I mean, I think they're going to be all right.
The thing I should know with Drew Holiday is I looked it up. They do, in fact, have Drew Holiday. He's in the midst of a 5-year, $131.8 million contract. However, the 2021 season is a player option. And then in 2022, he's an unrestricted free agent.
Well, that's just
they traded a lot to get him.
They mortgaged the farm to get him. So
they got him, but then they're going to have to try and keep him.
Well, that's going to be the big issue because for teams, especially in small market, you really got to get the right people there to really take you to those playoff runs deep.
And you got to be able to entice players to come when, let's face it, it's not always a sexy draw. Like, oh, hey, you want to come? And again, no disrespect to Milwaukee,
absolutely not,
or the state of Wisconsin. It's a wonderful state, but it's got to be hard at times to try and sell to free agents. Like, hey, you want to come to play in Milwaukee where it's fucking freeze your ass off cold a good portion of this season?
Well, that's where I think the interesting thing with free agency in the NBA comes from, because you talk about the lure and the desire to want to be in these locations. A Miami that attracted so many free agents for so long.
Sure.
What's Miami's biggest attraction level? Winning and the environment around it, But then you look at the flip side of it, when Boston had their peak run and was able to go out and get whatever veteran they wanted at the veteran minimum, what was their attraction?
Right.
Winning. So it's like, what is the generational player of today? What are they looking for? And the interesting dichotomy that's happening now is these guys who are stars that are in these second tier markets, the Giannis's, the Jamal Murray's, I'm just trying to think of people that are in those type of markets. Damian Lillard, in Portland. The interesting thing that we are finding right now in the NBA is these guys are willing to sign their max extensions. When before, LeBron, Dwayne Wade flirted with leaving Miami. Chris Bosh obviously left Toronto.
Yeah.
Ray Allen, KG. You look at these guys who were willing to leave, the teams that they were with previously and take less money to go other places. And it's all of a sudden, it's flipped. Now it's, no, we want, we're going to sign these super max deals. Because, Giannis could have signed somewhere else for $4 million, I think like 178 or 188 million.
Sure.
If he had gone somewhere else in free agency. But that extra year and an extra 100 million, now the NBA, through their collective bargaining agreements, have given the advantage back to these smaller market tier teams that are willing to shell out the money. Because before, especially in it was unheard of. Guys they were gone. They were out the door. No, thank you. I'll take whatever money I can get free agency. But now that they've given this ability for your team with bird rights to sign you for a 5th year, if you're an all-star, an MVP, you get an extra X amount of money that your team can offer you and nobody else. So it's like, it's made it attractive now to stay in these second tiers.
And I think it makes sense business-wise for the front office with Milwaukee to keep him there, because let's remember, Giannis is a 2-time, he's a back-to-back NBA MVP. He's only 26 years. He just turned 26 years old just a couple of days ago. He's in his 7th season in the NBA, so he's got a lot of years ahead of him. So you now have a very dominant, very good offensively player signed to your team for the next 5 years, if he doesn't opt out after 4. That all of a sudden, and you look at, they finished first in the East, record of 56-17. Toronto was second, 53-19. That you look at that East, not much has changed, and not much has gone. Not many players, at least to my eyes, have gone, holy shit, this has kind of usurped the status quo of the Eastern Conference. All of a sudden, this team that signed, insert super huge big name player, and I'm not even factoring in the team in Brooklyn, but somebody coming East and going, holy shit, this is going to totally usurp the East. This Eastern Conference is still Milwaukee's to lose. I think they're going to be able to pull it out this upcoming season. But all of a sudden now with Giannis and what they got going on there, you can look at guys and go, yeah, we're a smaller market team. but we're going to be able to win the Eastern Conference.
I think it's very smart that he stayed. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy to see somebody show loyalty to a small market team.
Sure.
Because we have not seen that in a while in the NBA. Let's be honest about this.
At least LeBron in the early days, maybe?
Well, you take a look at when the super team started forming, and, and everybody needed to go somewhere else and needed to play with everybody else because they couldn't win on their own.
Yeah.
Facts. This is not anything I'm just making up. So now you have somebody that wants to stay in a small market, and like I say, I just find it puzzling, but I also find it a little bit refreshing too.
Oh, yeah.
That somebody wants to stay there and win there and prove, hey, we can win here, we can win anywhere. That we don't need to all go to Brooklyn and form up.
I don't think it's that. I think he saw, A, the loyalty, and B, saw the extra, $80 million.
Well, I mean,
that does help.
I mean, but at that
you don't
point,
say.
But at that point, it's like, well, how much more millions do you need? To, that factors out winning.
I mean,
no, but I agree.
Yeah,
I see your point.
But look at baseball, where everything's level.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere you want in free agency.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, if I'm an all-star, the Houston Astros can sign me for the same amount of money that the New York Yankees, the Brewers, the Royals, that they can all sign me for, right? They might not have it, but they could if they can't.
Right. With the point I was going to counter with that is they don't have a salary cap that's anywhere near anybody else. It's
understandable.
It's a wide open game.
Right, but in the NBA, you have up till the threshold for the luxury tax. So if you're willing to take and go over that, as Golden State has for the last 5-6 years to retain their players, you're able to exceed that and take that salary tax and do all that stuff, then you're able to offer this money. The thing that is interesting though is if you wiped away the ability for Milwaukee, your hometown team, your 5+ years with that team, for them to offer you an additional year, so if the Knicks could offer the same money to Giannis as somebody else, would they go? Would he, would they flirt with the idea of staying in Milwaukee at all?
Yeah.
That's the point that I want to know, and that's what I find so interesting, because 5 years ago they would have
5 years ago, but not.
It would have been who Milwaukee. No. Who's offering me what? Miami? Okay, I'm going. But
Miami,
now
no state income tax.
Yeah, but now things are really starting to flip, where these guys are willing to fight and stay on these clubs that have been faithful and loyal to them, that they're getting rewarded with the extra cash.
Right, and I think in Giannis's case, like I said, it's a case of, the dollars help. They make a big difference. But I also think it's a case that he looks at the team, he looks at the East and goes, you know what, I stay here, I get the money, and I also got a real damn good chance to win the East, and also possibly win the championship.
Well, as long as you keep a nucleus around him that can contend. I mean,
right, that's the thing.
But that's going to be the argument, because if you want to take it back to when LeBron was in Cleveland, he couldn't get anybody to come there to play with.
Right,
Facts.
But that was at a time, well...
It's a different time period, I'll give you
that.
Right,
but I mean, to that point, though, he, yes and no, because he was able to get talent. It's just they weren't able to find the right pieces that fit what LeBron's game was until he went to Miami, where Spoelstra really, and Pat Riley, to his credit too, really got the pieces around LeBron with, Ray Allen and shooters.
So Anderson Varejao wasn't the right piece.
Well, no, because Varejao traveled with him to Miami. Yeah. It's just the thing with LeBron is everybody just thought that he could be on the court with anybody and play well. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't till he got to Miami where he started to get paired with shooters that people started to really see, all right, if you spread the floor and let LeBron create and get guys open, that's what LeBron needs to be. So, I mean, it's just interesting because Cleveland could have got those pieces in. They just didn't see it. You know what I mean? But Milwaukee right now, they went all out. They went and said, all right, Gordon Hayward leaves. Boston, obviously has their free agency coming up here soon with Tatum and Brown. Oh, my God. Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown.
I had it. So they have their day ahead of them. The 76ers have their inevitable back and forth between their superstars. Mm-hmm. You have a rising Miami team that you have to compete with. And what did they need to do that? Another scoring piece, and that's what Drew Holiday will do for you.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
And I know we're footing Milwaukee heavy right now, but I mean, they are the perennial class of the East.
They are, but when they get in those playoffs, something goes off. And just it doesn't fit through. Now, as I'm going to say, is it going to happen this year? I don't know.
I mean, you're talking Eric Bledsoe versus Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
And that's the argument that That's why they went out and got him. They went out and got a 3-time All-Star, a 20-plus scoring type guy. And to Eric Bledsoe's credit, he played very well.
Yeah.
But is he going to go out there consistently every single night and get you 20-plus points? No.
No, I mean, they upgraded by getting Holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's facts. Look at stats. I mean, enough said. But it's just going to be a matter of, okay, can they really contend in the East every year with other teams and really can make this run worth Giannis' while? I mean, it is debatable.
Yeah.
I mean, for right now, they are looking like the creme de la creme in the East.
Mm-hmm.
No question of that. So for the short term, it makes sense. Long term, I don't
see.
know. We'll have to see.
Well, yeah,
about that.
we're going to have to see because inevitably, I mean, Chris Middleton's 28, turning 29 this season.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Holiday, I believe, will also be 27, 28, turning
you
29.
have them in their late 20s.
Yeah, they're both in their late 20s with a 25, 26-year-old Giannis. So the window is tight.
Yeah, the window is now.
Yeah.
So you have to win now because other teams in the East are starting to pick up a little slack. Albeit, though, I know everybody's eyes are on Brooklyn right now, and not
We
for the
can
right
talk that.
reasons. All right,
Sure.
so
let's bring up Brooklyn.
All right, so there was, I guess, a Kyrie Irving interview citing.
Sure.
How,
Dude, listen, this team is implosion waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what has, and I mean, I don't know him, so I don't want to, but whatever is going on with his mental status right now, Kyrie, like I don't know if it's a character he's trying to portray or if this is just him finally opening up, because when he was at Duke,
he was
dude,
never like this.
he was a humble, quiet, go about his business, win games. Obviously I know he got hurt that season, so it really hurt that Duke team, but he came back in the tournament and was like, hey, these guys have been playing well without me. I just want to try and fit in.
Yeah.
Was willing to come off the bench, like he was willing to defer. Gets into the league, drafted by Cleveland, and LeBron leaves. It's his team, and all of a sudden LeBron comes back. He's paired with him, and then that whole that dynamic fell apart. Gets traded to Boston, says he's going to re-up. Wants to be here, and then leaves.
Well, Christ, he told the kid at the children's hospital when he was with Cleveland, where the kid who was sick with something, I forget what, kid looks him in the eye and goes, "Are you going to leave us like LeBron did?" And he goes, "No, I'm never going to leave you."
And then makes the comment about LeBron during the offseason about never having a shooter that could take the final shot like he could. Then when he was asked about his new head coach and Steve Nash, saying, "Oh, well, it might not be Steve Nash to be the head coach that night. It might be me holding the clipboard. It might be KD holding the clipboard. Could be, Stoudemire." And it was like, and then the comments about not talking to the media because he doesn't want to talk to people beneath him.
Yeah, well, he went so far as to say when he was asked about not speaking to reporters prior to Monday, quote, "The focus is on what's going on in here, and I wanted to make sure that was clear. No distractions, nothing about dispelling anything, nothing about going back and forth."
Bro,
close
you
quote.
are an effing distraction, though.
Yeah.
Your comments
Yeah.
are a distraction.
Yeah, because all of a sudden interviews with your teammates aren't going to be, "Hey, what did you think? What did you think about the run that the I don't know, pick a team, the Memphis Grizzlies went on in the third quarter? What happened there?" It's not going to be about that. It's going to be, "Hey, why isn't Kyrie talking to us today? Why is he skipping out on his media interviews?"
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been notorious for skipping out on the media if anybody's not too familiar with it. And then he's just decided to start speaking after their first preseason game. And this is where you're starting to see cracks in the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that I haven't already seen it here watching Kyrie, but now in Brooklyn where the media is a lot more intense.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I think he is realizing, and everything he's mentioning is now getting brought back in, and he's trying to make it say like, "Oh, it's never been like this. I meant it like that."
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
mean, when he's making comments about how he does not speak to pawns,
Yeah.
and now it's coming back up to him.
That's
now
that's backpedaling.
yeah.
He even went on to say, quote, "It's really just about how I felt about the mistreatment of certain artists when we get to a certain platform of when we make decisions within our lives to have full control and ownership. We want to perform in a secure and protected space," close quote.
I don't get it. I mean, I'm shocked that KD would want to put up with that as somebody as, just focused as he is. to have that hovering around him. I mean, think about how him and Draymond didn't get along just because Draymond was so, loud and boisterous. What do you now? You got this going on here,
I'm going out on a limb. KD's going to put up with him for as little
as
as little as he has to.
I mean,
where it's insofar as meetings and practice and game time and maybe even a little post game. But mark my words, obviously right now with pandemic going on, it can't happen. But should things get to a better place, mark my words, you will not see them going out to like some restaurant or bistro in the city or in Brooklyn or any one of the other boroughs in New York City. You will not see them on Instagram or Twitter like, oh, hey, I just snapped a pic. I was out to dinner and I ran into KD and Kyrie. You're not going to see that.
What you're going to see is a nice PR move, and everybody's going to look like the honeymoon is still in effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But let us break this down. KD could not beat the Warriors, so he joined them. So he left Russell Westbrook, and obviously that turned very sour very quickly.
Sure.
You go to Golden State, you win your chips, and then you can't play with anybody there.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to be the big fish in a big pond in New York, and I know it's Brooklyn, but still the biggest media market in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
Then you are purposely teaming up with somebody has the track record of blowing up his own teams,
and especially as friendly as the NBA is, and as as much as they talk behind the scenes that we don't know, any issues that are behind the scenes that the public don't know about Kyrie, Durant knows.
Oh, Durant has to know, unless he's just completely saying he can definitely steer him in the right direction. Because I'm sorry, if Kyrie is still making comments about LeBron to this day, and saying how LeBron was not the player that we all thought he was, paraphrasing a little bit. I'm sorry. You guys couldn't make it work. You guys could have had a dynasty built in Cleveland if you guys could just actually work together.
Well, if that LeBron would have stayed.
But, I mean, who knows? Because at that point, it was already getting toxic and everybody's just wearing out their welcome. So when Kyrie goes to Boston, it's his team. He's the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
I'm never leaving.
Bye.
And you can't handle being in that market. And you completely destroy that team. And then they're playing better without you. So then you decide to go, okay, I'm going to team up with KD. We're going to go to Brooklyn. We're going to rewrite everything. We're picking our head coach and Steve Nash, who's never coached before. Everything about this is just reeking of disaster. And let alone you cut an interview like that where you're talking about, I didn't say this. You're backpedaling about this. You're mentioning about, everything's looking great, blah, blah, blah. But when it's going against stuff that you've already said. It's not making any sense. I mean, this is how it's reading to me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, for a first-time head coach and Steve Nash too, not exactly the ideal situation I think you would want to get yourself into.
No.
Because it's poison in there. I mean, you let, you have a disagreement while you're not even playing with Kenny Atkinson, who, led this team to a playoff run. D'Angelo Russell was at an all-star level. Spencer Dinwiddie was at an all-star level. Jared Allen was starting to come on. Now you let him go. It's going to be a very long year, I think, in Brooklyn, especially if they come out slow to start, which will be difficult with KD because he's just such an elite talent that losing games is going to be difficult to do. But if they do, it'll be very interesting.
So their first 6 games, because I pulled up the schedule, they open the season at home against Golden State. Then they play Boston, Charlotte, Memphis, and then Atlanta twice. I should note in the first month of the season, they play 8 games on national television between TNT, ESPN/ABC, and then NBA TV. We should also note that for those of you not familiar, their games are also broadcasted on the Yes Network, which is on in 3 states in the Northeast, that being New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Right. So there's a lot of eyes on this team, and it's not exactly an instance where you can slink away and the public at large won't know except for highlights on insert your favorite sports show.
It's going to be a time bomb waiting to tick. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, with everything
I give it to maybe between quarter and halfway through the season, and it's going to blow up on them.
Oh, it's going to, because just those egos involved. I mean, and that's what I say with this interview that he gave, and he's already backtracking about stuff he said. It's like, this is not the place to do this. New York will eat you alive. And you know this, so why are you even commenting? I mean, we know that he doesn't like speaking to the media. We know he's posted on Instagram about it. why are you
rapping on Instagram?
Yeah, like why are you making yourself such a target for this? Because the media is going to rip you apart.
And you know that at some point he's going to sit there and kind of bemoan and go, oh, why is the media doing this to me, doing that to me? You know, I'm just trying to play. I'm just trying to do that. Dude, you opened it up to yourself.
Yeah, you just completely gave him, seeds to plant here.
It's the kid in middle school, high school that got in trouble for throwing a paper ball at the back of the teacher's forehead. And when the teacher turns around and sees him throw it, the kid looks at the teacher and goes, what? What did I do?
Yeah, this is just something that is just waiting to explode. And then let alone if he still even mentioned about James Harden and about what's going on there. Like, look, there's no way James Harden is coming to Brooklyn because they're not going to move the pieces to go get
Also,
him.
they just can't get the money to work.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. I don't care what secret games they're playing in L.A. together. It doesn't matter. It's not going down.
Correct.
If anything, Harden's going to the East, it'll be to Philly or the Knicks because the Knicks will do something crazy.
Why not?
But I can't see him playing with Thibodeau. I can't see that player-coach happening.
I mean, I think at this point, Thibodeau is willing to take on. I think, you have to evolve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that they would have brought him back had they not seen that he was willing to take on that kind of challenge. But yeah, Philly is the front runner. It makes the most sense. You compare Ben Simmons, in the trade, so you can split up that dichotomy, which is also, an unraveling bit. You can.
Oh, it's just a mess.
Yeah, and you can get Doc Rivers, a budding superstar that he's always had. And built and done very well on building around. So yeah, I think Philly's it's the obvious play.
I mean, it would make the most sense if Houston wants to do it, and obviously the move they did with Westbrook for John Wall, it's a lateral move. There's nothing to write home about that one.
But that's also where I think the problem comes from trading for him is because you have John Wall, who is a point-first point guard, not a scoring-first point guard. So it will be difficult to pair him with Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons is just not an elite scorer.
Yeah.
John Wall is going to be able to get James Harden the ball and be successful because they're not going to run the same offense. It's not going to be the high pick and rolls. You're going to see James Harden come off some pin screens and some down screens and curls and stuff. So, it'll be. I think John Wall is the right fit for that offense versus a Russell Westbrook. It's just, you make that if you make that trade for James Harden for him. Now you limit your ability to score. You've got two, ball dominant type point forward / point guards on the court, which we've seen just doesn't work, especially when one can't score. So now, with that John Wall trade, they've almost backed themselves into a corner. That's why, I know we just threw that. I know you threw it out there just for fun and games, but the Knicks honestly make the most sense. They can throw in the Dallas picks. They still have their pick. You can probably put in, Kevin Knox, Frank, probably going to have to put in a Mitch Robinson, and probably a Julian Randle to make the salary work and make that trade. But, a lineup of, Dennis Smith Jr. or Elfrid Payton with James Harden, RJ, Obi Toppin, and, I guess Nerlens Noel, will be serviceable for a year until next year when they can go out and get new pieces.
Well, that's going to be the issue they're going to have to come up with for the Knicks. Anything right now is just speculation. But
it's all.
But in comparison to what you have over in Brooklyn, they're actually looking in decent shape for the sense of that locker room isn't going to implode.
Dude, the Knicks are going to be in for a long fucking season.
Well, it's going to be a long season, but I'm at least saying in comparison, if the Nets go 5-5 to start out the gate, or is the dam going to break and the levee going to just completely snap?
It could, if for no other reason than the national media will be like, what's going on with the Brooklyn Nets? Because let's face it, they brought in KD, they brought in Kyrie. The fucking New York market's going to eat them alive.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. So, yes, the New York media will get on them, but I think if they start 5-5, because history shows these teams, especially, that have, because COVID. This is going to be an interesting basketball season. So I think if they start 5-5 and they're a little bit slower, you're going to see the media get on them. But I don't think it's going to be the level that it normally would because of the fact that it's an abbreviated camp. preseason games are heavy. The
Everybody's going to
schedule,
be on load management.
yeah, the schedule is going to be heavy. So I think if they, start out 5-5, yeah, it's going to be, hey, what's going on? Why such a slow start? But I don't think it's going to be like the hammering like it could have been had it been a normal season where we would have been in October, like when Miami started that slow out the gate, when everybody was like, oh my God, lambasting them. It's like, it's not going to be the same.
It's definitely not going to be the same as the season kicks off 1 week from today. So a lot of storylines going into that. So let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about Giannis resigning? What is your thoughts about Kyrie Irving's interview? Is it that big of a deal? Are we pushing the panic button a little too much, or are we spot on with the comments?
His interview or lack thereof.
Yes. So let us have that conversation. Hit us up on the social media accounts. You can find it at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sunny Hepburn.
And I'm Brandy Fleets.
And we're from Book of Lies, the podcast, where we discuss liars, cheats, and thieves,
Scammers and dirty, rotten scoundrels.
You can tune in for new episodes every Tuesday to hear about another lowdown, dirty liar.
And learn how to spot them.
So that's Book of Lies Podcast. You can connect with us on social media, Twitter at Book of Lies Pod, Facebook, and Instagram at Book of Lies Podcast. Bye!
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs breathing, shawty running up, her spine spinning. Long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for another segment here on the ODPH podcast, and time to talk a little wrestling. Wrestling. Now, this coming Sunday is the WWE's TLC pay-per-view that you can find on the WWE Network. Kickoff time 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. So this is going to be the final quote-unquote pay-per-view event of 2020. And Pat is going to read off the matches. We will give you our predictions. So we are going to be talking possible spoilers for WWE TLC.
Yeah, so in no particular order, just reading top to bottom, or bottom to top, I should say, from the article I'm reading on CBSSports.com. For the United States Championship, you have Bobby Lashley taking on Riddle.
Now, this has been a little fun feud, albeit, though, what they're doing with Matt Riddle is they're completely living up the bro gimmick.
Real heavy.
Yeah.
Real heavy.
The
Pronouns.
Bro nuts. And he's been trying to pitch business ideas to MVP, the head of the Hurt Business, and now this is kind of ran into a feud where Riddle is now going to be facing Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title.
Yeah.
Sure.
How are we feeling about this?
I'm feeling like this should be a squash match for Lashley.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Riddle's not going to get the win here, but I would like some sort of schmaz finish where, they protect Riddle and still can put, Lashley or MVP over until, the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, this one I think is going to be Lashley winning, but I think you'll see a good competition, shall we say. Because Riddle obviously has been slowly fighting with the Hurt Business. I know he had the match this past Monday, and definitely we're starting to see the Hurt Business really start to take off now. I think it's been one of the strongest factions on Raw, and now that they're getting some chance to shine, I think that Lashley is eventually going to be moving on for that world title.
Could be.
Which, I mean, I never thought I'd say at the beginning of the year, but man, we have definitely stepped it up for him. So I wouldn't doubt seeing Lashley win, but it's going to be a close match setting up for a possible rematch.
Next up for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, you have the Street Profits defending their belts against Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode.
Yeah, so this is definitely pre-match.
Pre-show.
And this one should be a fun feud.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been kind of building this up a little bit for the show on SmackDown, and obviously the tag teams in WWE have not been getting the proper due.
Yeah. No, this is true.
So this one, though, I think is Street Profits all day.
Yeah.
Sure.
Should be Street Profits, you would figure.
Yeah, this one, like I said, could be some fun. I think it's going to be a good match, but I think this will be Street Profits. And like I said, I'm fully banking that it's going to kick off the pre-show.
Yeah, probably. Next up for the Raw Tag Team Championship, you have the New Day taking on the Hurt Business.
Coach, your thoughts?
New Day?
Yeah, not New Day. Like I foresee this being a feud going on for a couple months, maybe lasting until, what's the next big one? Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Maybe building up until Royal Rumble where you might have a belt change, but last show and the last pay-per-view, end of the year, I just don't see Hurt Business winning. But I expect there to be some sort of shenanigans where Hurt Business tries and win, but, New Day being the fact they're like 102-time, tag team champs or whatever they are, that they'll be able to see through it and get around it.
I'm going in new.
Ooh,
Okay.
And here's my philosophy why. Like I said, the Hurt Business has been the best faction on Monday Night Raw the entire year 2020. The only thing that every great faction does that they have not done yet is have all the belts at once.
Okay.
I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, you go back through history. I mean, outside of the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Nation should have had the belts. They didn't. But this is where I think the Hurt Business is going to make that climb, so to speak. Because I think Lashley does retain. But I think that Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are going to take this. And I think this is going to be a possible match of the night.
Could be.
They've already faced off before on Raw, and it was a phenomenal match. I think you're going to see that same chemistry here, but I think that finally the Hurt Business breaks through, gets the belts, and then it's going to be, okay, where are we going to go for next?
Yeah.
But I'm down for this. I think it's going to be a possible match of the night.
Yeah. Next up for the Women's Tag Team Championship, you have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending against Asuka. And, to be determined. As we all know, Lana has been partnering with Asuka the last couple of weeks, much to the torment of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler because they've been putting Lana through a table for like 3 months or something crazy like that.
9 weeks.
Yeah, 9 weeks in a row. Lana managed a victory against, Nia Jax on Monday Night Raw last night. As a result, Lana was attacked and was, but now she's been removed from the match. And according to reports, especially from PW Insider is reporting that the word coming out of Raw is that she's expected to be off TV for as long as 3 to 4 weeks. So now we have a situation where Asuka's challenging for the tag team championships. And while normally I would say Asuka can do it by herself, she does need a tag team partner. And we've yet to find out who that is.
Coach, your thoughts?
I can't wait for this match to be over.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love Asuka. I just, I'm not high on Blazer.
Yeah, I know you're not.
And I'm really not high on Nia Jax.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the tag partner, obviously, Charlotte is set to return at some point here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's a rumor. I don't really see them using one of the girls from NXT because,
No.
I mean, they're all kind of tied up in, obviously, in feuds themselves, so I don't really see like a Rhea Ripley coming up here.
No.
So, Charlotte really feels like the only candidate unless Lana all of a sudden miraculously just limps down to get some more babyface cred and tries to gut it out.
Has Billie Kay joined one of the brands yet?
She's on SmackDown.
Okay. No, so I was kind of not looking forward to this match just because the love affair that the creative team has with Lana, and if you think otherwise, please try and prove me wrong. The love affair that creative has had with Lana to give her this, rags to riches story, was evident. And I think it was, to me at least, it was blatantly obvious that given Lana's fluke wins the last couple of weeks, they were going to give the belts to Asuka and Lana. Now, given the fact that Lana is now off the card and out for at least the next month, who the hell knows what's going to happen with this matchup? Between Shayna and Asuka, I think it's going to be very good. I'm winning the same boat with Coach. I do not like Nia Jax. I do, she's very dangerous. I'm not the biggest fan of her. So, like Coach, I'm just excited for this to be over because the belts probably will not change.
Yeah, that spot with Lana's leg last night, I was legitimately holding my breath because the way Shayna was holding the leg at that angle, I was like, if she jumps just an inch to the left and actually lands on her knee, she will tear her ACL.
Completely.
Like, I was literally holding my breath, gasping like, please, please, every time she dropped the knee. And then, luckily she walked out of there okay.
Yeah.
But I was scared.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I am not a fan of Team Hell No 2.0.
Yeah.
Don't even give them that. Don't.
Don't.
Yeah,
because I'm sorry.
Don't put them in the same as team.
But that's why every time I see them together, like Nia and Shayna, that's what it reminds me of.
No, because Team Hell No was great.
See, but that's why but that's how it all came together for this team. But that's why I'm hoping they lose.
That's like
so
saying
they break it up.
Scott Mitchell from Detroit was close to Joe Montana. Like, you can't do that comparison.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
That's what you did. That's you right now.
No, but I still make that for the storyline purpose.
No.
Yeah. But that all being said, Asuka, we'll do this locks and leaps style. I think the lock is going to be Lana comes out there and just solidifies.
That's
the whole
what I'm saying.
thing.
Yeah, I think she's going to limp her way down. Yep.
The leap, though, I will say is going to be Charlotte.
Okay.
Or I don't know. Kyrie Sane made a kind of a weird tweet that she said like believe or something like that variation today.
Okay.
I'm not saying she's going to be there.
Right.
But if they want to do just like a one-time Band-Aid,
Right.
like she happens to be here.
Yeah.
Right.
Because as far as I know, she's not. That would be something else too. Because I just think as long as it's a big name, and if they want to take the belts off Nia and Shayna and finally have them feud, like let's do this already. Because they're not doing anything with those tag team belts that are actually worthwhile.
Fair. Yeah.
So I'd rather see new champs. So I'll say and new no matter what.
Yep. Next up, you have The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, taking on Randy Orton. And Randy Orton still likes to light Bray Wyatt's shit on fire.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, this feud.
Can it be over, please?
It's bad.
Yeah, this is not.
Let's drag up a story from 2017.
Yeah, and just let it run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I understand they don't have anything for Randy because all the chips were in for him and Edge.
Yep.
So now we're kind of fluctuating in this. All right, we're going to have him go against Bray.
And I was saying you don't know what to do with Bray in that you don't know who to put him up against.
Well, the thing is, they're trying to make Bray face.
Yeah.
Right, which is dumb.
Well, he's not a face. Like, I'm sorry, this isn't one of those situations like where the Undertaker turned face after all those time.
Sure.
Right, but like the Undertaker face was like different because like he was just such a beloved, type character that like you could put him up against like a Kane or like that just bastardly, Shawn Michaels, and it worked, like it doesn't work when you come out in a menacing mask,
right?
And you wear all this like dark, eerie clothing, and like
no, Bray is much better as a heel.
Yeah.
So the fact that like we're still having this, I'm hoping Orton wins.
Unpopular opinion: the Firefly Funhouse has been a dud since it went to Raw.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been
I'll
boring.
say the only thing I like with the Bray Wyatt stuff is, again, whatever the hell's going on between him and Alexa Bliss.
Gets her on TV.
Yeah, I mean, that's if anybody is doing anything well with this, it's Alexa Bliss.
Oh, yeah, it's what the hell's going on.
Yeah, which I think has been a much-needed refresh for her character,
Yeah.
so I'm okay with that. Like, I have no issue. But I agree with you. It's like this whole thing is just kind of a mess. The fact we're bringing back up the 2017 feud, which was just bad to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not moving the needle, and I'm just kind of hoping that, okay, if Randy wins, then I'll put him in position to go against Edge, who I think is due back very, very soon.
So I think I've read a couple times he's been backstage at Raw.
Yeah, it's just they haven't brought him out yet, which, I mean, if they want to wait for him to come out for the Royal Rumble, sure. And I think that's where we go.
Twice in a row.
Yeah, so we'll go with that. And you know what? They'll be fine, though.
Yeah. Next up for the SmackDown Women's Championship, you have Sasha Banks defending her belt against Carmella.
Okay. I will jump in first for this one.
All right.
Carmella's new gimmick is Emelina 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just they decided to pull the trigger on it a lot faster than they did Emelina.
Yes. It's not getting over.
No.
I'm sorry. In fact, if anything, you're kind of just rehashing the same old same. Sasha has been doing amazing work on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Might be Wrestler of the Year. And I mean that for both men and women.
Yeah.
Except no way that will happen, but yeah, it should.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like she's been the top performer of the year. So like her and Asuka, like I say, is a 1-2 right there.
Yeah, but does she have any 7-star matches?
In
the Tokyo Dome.
In my book, yes. But for some of our other friends, no, not necessarily. But that all being said, I keep saying Asuka because I always see Asuka and Shayna or Sasha feuding.
Yeah.
I think this is Sasha's to win. I think that she's going to have another great. She will carry Carmella to a great match.
Yeah.
Like this isn't going to be any 5-star, but this will be good.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I don't care for the Carmella gimmick that's currently going on. The only part I enjoy about it is whenever she comes out and Corey Graves starts stumbling over his words and can't get a goddamn sentence out. It's just funny to me. I get why he's doing it. They're dating. They have a podcast together. So I get. He's in love with her. I get it, but it's just funny to me.
It's cute.
I think Sasha win the match. It should be a good match. I just hope that there's like a good portion where Corey Graves just zones out, and Michael just goes, Corey. Oh, what? Sorry, I was distracted.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think that this should be an entertaining match. Sasha will carry her to a good match, and then hopefully we get somewhere with the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
and start planting some seeds there.
Yep. Next up for the WWE Championship, you have Drew McIntyre defending his belt against AJ Styles in a TLC match.
Coach, your thoughts on this?
I don't know. AJ Styles has been hovering around for so long. And the move to Raw, obviously, Paul Heyman on SmackDown, boo-hoo, we don't like each other, whatever.
Yeah.
To throw, it feels like a placeholder until they figure out what they want to do with Drew. I don't think the new, I mean, honestly, breaking up the club to me was a downfall of AJ Styles. Pairing him with this new heater doesn't really do anything for me because he's so green that they're not really using him in any way.
Yeah, the new bodyguard.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, I think Drew's going to get over, and I think it's going to hopefully lead to some sort of momentum for him going into Mania season.
I think AJ's going to win the match, but I don't think he'll be walking out champion. I think he'll get a cash in from Miz. And Miz will walk out. And Miz will walk out champion.
I would love that.
Let's say we do have a history at TLC of Money in the Bank getting cashed in.
Well, it would make a lot of sense because, I mean, obviously Drew McIntyre retaking the belt back has not really gotten a fair run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just tough because there's no crowds.
Yeah.
So you don't really know how well he's doing, even though I thought he's looked very strong. He's been their best babyface this entire year.
Sure.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
But for what they're doing with him and AJ, I think they set up the feud nicely. Albeit, though, they're tipping their hat too much with the whole Sheamus pairing now. So he's gonna. We all know he's turning on McIntyre.
Yup.
Will it happen here because McIntyre didn't save him from AJ's beatdown because him and the bodyguard had him tied upside down and were hitting him with stiff shots to the stomach with chairs? I mean, it could be something like that.
I don't know if it'll happen, but I would like to see Drew hit a midair Claymore on AJ when he's going into the phenomenal forearm.
That could happen.
That would
for
be
this.
awesome.
I think they're going to have a great match.
Oh, yeah. No, it'll be good. Sure.
Yeah, but I think, though, this is going to be Drew's to win, and I would love The Miz to come in and cash. I think he's going to wait, though.
Yeah.
I could see Royal Rumble. But, Pat, I love the idea. So if the new bodyguard there does what he does, be in the muscle, be in the heat.
Yeah.
And takes out Drew, even though I agree with Coach, he's way too fresh to the business, and he's just not ready for prime time.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think that there'll be a problem though, but a Money in Bank win will clear that up.
Yep. And then lastly, for the Universal Championship, you have Roman Reigns defending his belt against Kevin Owens in a TLC match.
I wonder.
Yeah. No kidding.
I mean,
this is gonna. I'll say this. Kevin Owens can bump, and he can take some bumps, and this being a TLC match, this and as hard-hitting and as brutal and vicious as Roman has been, this is going to fucking hurt.
Correct.
Holy fuck.
This will be brutal.
Yeah.
This will be painful.
Those of you with weak constitutions, you might want to look away.
I mean, this isn't going to be Timothy Thatcher, Tommaso Ciampa.
No.
But
no.
And this might not be Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly, which if the wrestling gods are good to us, we get that rematch next takeover.
Maybe.
Well, because of Wednesday night's implications.
Yeah, maybe.
Could possibly happen.
Could be.
But that all being said, though, Kevin Owens is now back in the title picture, albeit, though, it does feel like a placeholder for Roman Reigns, who's doing the best work he's done in years.
Christ, yeah.
Correct.
And I know that they're trying to maybe set up something with him and Daniel Bryan. I know it's been rumored. I didn't see official confirmation.
He's rumored with Daniel Bryan. He's rumored with just about a lot of
people. I think there's everybody's been. I've even seen
been thrown in.
I've seen Drew's name associated to it. So how the hell that happens?
Right.
Yeah.
But I think for Daniel Bryan, though, I could definitely see him taking on Roman next because I know it's been rumored that he's going to have a match.
Those
the card.
Those promos would be amazing.
Yeah, he's going to have a little program with Jey Uso before the show, so that could get added to the pre-show. And I think they're going to slowly kind of set up for that for Royal Rumble between Roman and Daniel Bryan, which I'm on board with. Let it happen. But this match, this is going to be Roman all day. It's going to be very brutal. I'm excited to see it. I mean, in fact, this is going to be a TLC match, too. Kevin Owens is going to do some crazy-ass bump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, remember at WrestleMania, he jumped off the pirate ship.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's willing to do whatever.
Yeah, he'll definitely want to put it on the show to close out. So, this, like I say, overall, this should be a fun match. And Roman goes over, and then we go right to the road to WrestleMania. So, this is all going down Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the WWE Network. Exciting time for to be a wrestling fan right now, though, because they have a stacked NXT card this week.
Holy Christ, yeah.
And obviously what's going on with AEW and Impact, still they're carrying on that, which I know I won't get into because I know there really isn't anything to talk about with that this week.
No, there's not. So good. Don't even.
All I'm going to say is if the idea for a match Nyla Rose pitched actually happens with Young Bucks and Lucha Bros with the trampolines outside the wrestling ring match, I will absolutely watch that fucking match.
Yeah, she pitched some kind of crazy idea between them, hybrid H2.
What else? Why do they need trampolines? Like, what more do they need?
It would just be flips all over the place.
Fucking, see?
I can sense
I'm not.
Nope.
Move on.
No, we will move on because we got to wrap up the show. But definitely, we will talk some more wrestling with you on Twitter. So definitely hit us up at OD Parlay Hour, and you can find all our accounts right there in the profile. So definitely hit it up because we definitely have to talk about WWE TLC on there. Who's your predictions for winning, and what do you think about the card overall? Let's have that conversation, folks. Hit us up. Let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
2, 3, 4.
Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we actually have a local minute news.
Yeah. The Binghamton Bulldogs are back in action right now, gearing up for training camp. They recently had 2 tryouts locally in the area where they have selected, I believe, 20 invites to training camp that they are announcing slowly on their Facebook page, so be on the lookout for that. I did see that Derek Hart is set to return, so exciting news. Being able to return, arguably one of the better players in the ABA last year. And in news, they did announce a new head coach for the upcoming 2021 season. Dan Rathmel, who was a player last year on the Bulldog team, has now taken over the head coaching position. He is a former Windsor grad, so a local high school in the area, and actually serves as an assistant under at Binghamton University. So he's still going to keep that role while maintaining his job now being the Binghamton Bulldogs head coach. So exciting news out of Bulldog camp. Obviously www.binghamtonbulldog.com, or just keep an eye out on their Facebook as they slowly keep announcing players for tryouts.
Yeah, definitely they're adding to the team, and obviously going to the new conference this year is going to be really fun to watch.
Well, they're playing the ABA again.
Oh, it's ABA.
Yeah, it's ABA because they were unable to schedule games with travel.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
All right, so my bad about that one.
That's okay.
I remember the hype going in.
Yeah, it was a big deal, but unfortunately, travel restrictions and everything. COVID.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of hurt their ability to get some of the games into the position where they felt comfortable traveling. So they're gonna, rock one more year in the ABA, and hopefully, this COVID thing goes away, and we can get life back to normal, and the Bulldogs can move on with their season.
Time to get optimistic, folks.
Yeah,
definitely. So more information, BinghamtonBulldogs.com. So let's round those bases and take it home.
I got one thing to talk about. Conor McGregor did a good thing. Something
fuck Jake Paul.
Yeah.
No, that's Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz wants to fight Jake Paul.
Nate Diaz is a saint.
Let's go.
Nate Diaz wants to fight Jake Paul for free.
What a hero.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz, obviously Conor rival, willing to take on this punk ass bitch who keeps calling him out. Now, listen, he's tall, and I am not that tall. So would he be able to beat me in a fight? Maybe. I mean, he has millions of dollars for trainers. Listen, I've never boxed in my life, so he might have an edge. I mean, but I'm just saying, Nate Diaz, what a hero you are for taking on this peon that Conor has no business touching.
But no, the good thing that Conor did do is there is a gym up in County Louth in Ireland. The name of the gym is SBG Portarlington, where a couple days ago on Instagram they posted a photo, like a group photo of everyone who was at the gym working out, and said, quote, "Tonight we close our doors in the gym for the last time. Unfortunately, we are forced to shut down our gym. Forced to shut our gym down. To say I'm heartbroken is an understatement. The COVID pandemic has been tough on us all, and we can no longer keep the gym going. Due to mounting rent bills during lockdowns, we just can't sustain." And then the owner of the gym, in an interview with ESPN, said, quote, "We've had 3 lockdowns now, and I think after each lockdown, it's hard to get the same numbers back in. People lose the routine, and just our numbers were dropping. Every time there was a new lockdown, we got deeper and deeper into debt. Our landlord wasn't giving us any break on the rent or anything like that. We had to decide to shut the doors for good," close quote. And then they posted on their Instagram page just 2 days later, from the lowest low to the highest high, we are not closing. Our teammate and friend Conor McGregor has decided to help us out and keep the gym running. We will be eternally grateful. The owner of the gym didn't disclose exactly how much Conor McGregor donated, but he did say, quote, "We don't have to worry for the next year or two," close quote. He went on to say, "I was nearly crying there. I didn't know what to say to him, to be honest. I'm forever grateful to him. He basically saved our little community. Words can't express what he's done for us. I know that he gets bad press. People don't report on it, but he does this stuff all the time. Conor is not looking for gratitude. He's not looking for the media to spread this around," close
My
quote.
hero.
So good on Conor McGregor for doing
Goddamn right.
Very good for Conor.
Goddamn right. Coming from Pad, not the highest of high Conor fans.
Nope.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. That's a good story. So kudos to you, Mr. McGregor, about that one.
I feel like I should have let off because I don't think I'm going to be able to one up that. I'm just going to simply talk about the normal, simple things in life, which it's bowl season almost, baby, and we've got conference championships coming up this weekend. We kick off with USC versus Oregon, Oregon, as my friend Rob would have me say. They are replacing Washington, who, due to a COVID outbreak on the team, were unable to meet the criteria to be able to play. So Oregon steps into that role to play USC, who right now flirting with a potential bowl bid or national playoff potential with a win and some teams losing. The early slate you have in the Big Ten, Ohio State playing Northwestern. Obviously, the Big Ten did the right thing, allowing Ohio State into this game as they should. The smart move for the conference. And Northwestern, obviously, the best team out of that side of the conference, so they're going to play them. The Big 12, also kicking off at 12, you have Iowa State versus Oklahoma. Both teams have 2 losses, so I don't really see either one of them climbing the ranks into a playoff bid. But, obviously, the winner of that will get a nice bowl bid. And then in the SEC, this game's the 8 o'clock game, but I'm going to talk about the main event in a second. You've got Alabama versus Florida.
Ooh, yeah,
Florida. Yeah, that will be fun. Unfortunately, Florida did messed up last weekend with that loss.
Yeah, no, that was a bad loss.
I mean, that's a real bad loss.
That was a real garbage
loss.
Because
LSU was terrible, and to lose that game is atrocious.
And especially the shoe throwing thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank you because you all but guaranteed Notre Dame's spot into the playoffs.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Speaking of that, Notre Dame plays Clemson in the rematch, 4 o'clock. The ACC title game played in Charlotte. Notre Dame's first time playing for the ACC title. I said in the beginning of the year how much I would love the fact if Notre Dame comes through and just wins the ACC title and then dips out of the conference the next year. So I'm full-fledged hoping for this game.
Is my dream of an Ohio State Notre Dame title?
Oh, it's very much in the lot. It's very much in the works.
Yes.
I mean, Notre Dame obviously right now I feel like is a lock to get in. Even if they have a bad beat to Clemson, I don't see any of these teams being able to show their body of work that Notre Dame has to jump them. Clemson obviously has some work to do because if they lose and Florida does win against Alabama, does that push Florida above Clemson? One could argue. So that will be difficult to see. Would a 6-0 USC team with a strong performance against Oregon be able to jump up, almost 9 positions to get into the playoffs? Pac-12 champion, arguably, you could see it. But safe to say, Notre Dame in, baby, and I'm very happy. This game is going to be crazy. The Notre Dame defensive coordinator, Clark Lee, was actually just named the head coach of Vanderbilt, his alma mater. He is going to be allowed to fulfill his duties to Notre Dame for the next, 3 games. So hopefully he's not too distracted because he's arguably one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation. And I'm just really hyped up, guys. I don't know what else to say.
You got to be a lot to be hyped about. I know the Florida loss was bad, and I was like, the minute I'm watching, I'm just like, what are you going to do?
The minute it happened, so I was at my work Christmas party. We were unable to, no service at the place that we were at, so I didn't get to check. But the moment I did get service and saw, because I was able to check and see the game was close at halftime. Jubilation is the key word here because I was absolutely, shocked, but also excited because I knew even if Notre Dame loses by 20, the body of work is there that shows that this team deserves to be in the playoffs. So, I mean, if they fall to 4, they're obviously going to play Alabama, which is not ideal. I really don't want if they beat Clemson and Clemson falls to 4, then Ohio State would jump up to 3. That would be your Ohio State-Notre Dame matchup would be a 2-3. I don't really see any way Notre Dame gets to 1 unless Alabama loses. But that's very unlikely.
You never know what's going to happen. Just the fact you get invited to the dance, that's what matters.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, Josh wants his Ohio State because my wife, versus Notre Dame.
Because we need that for Twitch.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it will probably be in the semifinals and not the finals.
Yeah.
Well, we can't have nice things.
No,
2020.
2020, folks. We'll just chalk it up to that.
Yeah.
So for my base, though, I want to talk a little UFC action. Now, this past week was UFC 256, the last pay-per-view scheduled event for the UFC for the calendar year. A couple quick takeaways. Kevin Holland. We talked about him on the show.
Maybe.
I'm sure you have.
Very briefly, because he won his 5th fight this year.
Damn.
5 fights, and he wants a 6th.
Oh, get the fuck out.
Before it's done.
There's 2 weeks left in the year.
I know.
And I think there's only one card left for the year, and that's next week.
Right. And he's been...
maybe it's this weekend.
He's been politicking for the card this coming Saturday, the 19th.
That's the last one of the year. The next one's in January.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
He is asked for one Chimaev, because Chimaev is hanging out. There is no confirmation of this, but I am here for this. But I applaud him because he has done 5 fights this year.
And he wants to do a 7-day turnaround.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, he's absolutely crazy. He's a madman. He wound up knocking out Jacare Souza.
Do we know if Donald Cerrone's okay? Has Donald Cerrone died and his spirit is now in Holland?
I think that Cerrone is inspiring the next generation of fighters, because you're seeing guys like Chimaev and Holland that are just like, give me my next fight, give me my next fight. Like, they're not being patient and waiting. So I am waiting to see if he gets penciled in. I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably not.
I think for his own health, it probably shouldn't. But, man, I salute you for 5 wins. And definitely a couple of them, man, were just standout wins. I mean, obviously, he beat Anthony Hernandez to start the year in May. He took out Joaquin Buckley, who did the crazy knockout kick flip. That that was one of Buckley's first fights in the UFC, too.
Right.
Definitely stood there. And then, obviously, taking out Souza was a huge deal. But in the co-main event of this fight, though, was one that we had kind of circled a little bit. It was Charles Oliveira taking on Tony Ferguson. Now, this is the first time we've seen Ferguson come back since the whole Justin Gaethje war he went through. And this one ended with Charles Oliveira getting the decision in the unanimous decision with this one. Nothing against Tony Ferguson, but it's like you survive a fight like that against Gaethje, which was 5 rounds of just brutal pounding. You sometimes don't come back. I always call it the Diego Sanchez syndrome. Because you go through fights with Diego, you never came out the same way.
Right.
Same thing happened. And I think Ferguson, I don't know what he's got left in him for the UFC or his MMA career. I mean, I'd love to see him come back. But at this stage, he's not going to fight for a belt, so where does he go from here? On the flip side, Charles Oliveira looked amazing. He definitely needs to be in the number 1 contendership talk for the lightweight title. I know there's a lot of uncertainty right now, because I know that we're all kind of waiting to see what happens with Conor and Dustin Poirier next year.
Right.
It is rumored that Justin Gaethje is fighting Michael Chandler on the co-main. They have not made that official, but that could also be the 2 winners are going to fight each other for the belt, so who knows. Oliveira needs to be in that mix, though. Amazing performance Saturday night. And then in your main event for the flyweight title, Develcian Figueiredo took on number 1 contender Brandon Moreno. Moreno just fought Brandon Royval, coach's favorite flyweight.
Yeah.
And won the number 1 contendership, obviously got the title shot. And this one possibly was fight of the year, guys. Amazing fight.
Oh, yeah?
It was a majority draw, though, for Figueiredo. The judges scored at 48, 46, 47, 47, 47, 47. Dana White has already said he's running this back. So I don't have a timetable when it's going to happen. But Dana was excited about this. I know the internet kind of exploded a little bit for the MMA world, that they were definitely down to do it. Figueiredo wants it back. So I'm excited to see what happens here. So definitely the UFC ended their pay-per-view stretch on a high note going into this weekend's fight night, because now it's going to be back to a fight night with your main event, Jeff Neal taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Jose Aldo is taking on Marlon Vera in the co-main. So it should be a fun night of fights. I'm taking Thompson and I'm taking Vera for that. So definitely check it out on ESPN Plus, wherever you watch your UFC action as well around the world. So let's get into locks and leaps and take a show home.
Yeah, starting with my lock. God Christ, I can't pass this one up. I feel like I'm kicking a person while they're down. The Rams are taking on the Jets. The Rams are 17-point favorites. I could see them getting that, maybe getting close, maybe exceeding that. We'll see. And then for my leap, I'll be honest, the leaps suck this week, but I saw this one and thought, I could see this happening. Currently, the San Francisco 49ers are 3-point favorites going on the road and playing Dallas. I think Dallas might be able to squeak that one out. You know, they've been playing well of late. Amari Cooper been getting the ball. If they feed Zeke a little bit, I think they should be able to pull that one out and win.
Coach?
My lock is going to be the Rams versus the Jets.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Jets are a bad football team.
Yep.
And they got to travel out west again, so just tough. And then for my leap, I am actually going to go with the Bears over the Vikings.
Bears.
Oh,
The
okay.
Bears, playing pretty good football right now. Trubisky, able to, they're able to establish the run a little bit, and I like the Bears.
Maserati Mitch.
So for my lock, I'm jumping on the Baker bandwagon.
Uh-oh.
Cleveland is
How fucking dare you?
3.5-point favorites. Give it to me.
I'm fucking changing mine now to the Broncos.
Okay.
I'm not really doing that, but I want to.
I know. I just want to anger Coach about this one. Look, I'm looking at this. I agree with you. This is not a great week for picks. I'm going to be very honest with you. Too many double-point favorites.
Yeah.
That scares me looking at this. So for me, though, I think Cleveland, let's see if they're the real deal. And the Giants, if the Messiah is not ready to run, this could be a long day.
Wait, Seth Rollins plays for the Giants?
Cole McCoy will be just serviceable.
Hopefully, Cole McCoy will be in there, but I could definitely see the Browns wanting to send a message to Freddie Kitchens. So I think that there might be a little added incentive for this game. So that's it. I like them there. And
Or maybe the Giants rally for Kitchens.
No, I don't think so. And then for my leap, I'm going with those Redskins, who are 6.5 dogs.
You are
to
doing
Seattle.
me fucking real dirty right now, homie.
You had to bring up Florida.
Real dirty.
You had to bring up Florida.
Dude,
didn't you?
I said thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a dick. I said thanks. The audacity. I said thank you.
I'm just saying that's how I'm seeing it
Well,
this
good.
week.
Now I'm glad Florida lost, and I hope they lose even better, worse to Bama.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Roll Tide.
Oh, wash your mouth out with that soap.
Roll Tide.
You said that as a Notre Dame fan. I just want to point that out.
I said it right now. What Alabama does not affect Notre Dame, but they do affect Florida.
But your hatred for Alabama, though.
I think he now roots for two.
Roll Tide.
I think he now roots for two teams: Notre Dame and anyone who beats Florida.
Right now, currently.
Right now, because I've angered Coach. It'll be a long Twitter week, folks, so definitely join the conversation on social media, because the music you heard on this episode of the ODPH is that of Brian Wolf. Now, he is going to be doing some Patreon concerts on Wednesday, still going in through the holiday season. I forget what he has set up. This week is going to be all Bruce
Springsteen.
It's all Bruce Springsteen covers. And then the following week is all holiday music.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to check out what Brian's doing, and you should because he's an amazing musician, head on over to where, Pad?
OchoDuroParlayHour.com.
That's right. Hit up the music section. You can check out everything Brian's got going on there. You can also check out Second Suitor, who just put out a video for the song Sprinkles, which is very fitting if you're living in the Northeast for what's coming tomorrow.
Fuck that noise.
Yes.
Well, tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a bad one, so definitely Sprinkles might get you through it. So the YouTube video is up there as well. And also you can check out links to Tom Jolu. You can check out what's going on with Floodlands, Shout at the Robots, all the amazing music you hear on the ODPH. Also there, you can check out the directory, which has friends of the show, organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter, all the amazing pod groups we are in via their Podchaser pages, because I say it once, I say it again. If you're not on Podchaser, you're not in a pod group. Enough said. So shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to Legion of Independent Podcasts, shout out to Alternate Reality Radio, shout out to the aPODalpyse, and of course shout out to hashtag 607 Podcast and our friends over at 8122 Productions, Rich Ron, Mike C, and hashtag Big Natty Cool, still on Twitter, Pad.
Oh boy.
Who has something lined up for their Patreon. I can't even get into. I was privy to some information. I'm just going to keep it to myself. If you want to find out what's going on, $1 gets you in the door, $3 gets you a comfy seat at a table. Patreon.com/8122 Productions. All of that, plus our TeePublic store is now live, so you can definitely check that out at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. So much more is going on, so definitely swing by the web page and check it out. That's all I got for this week. Oh, I'm out of breath. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Good night and good luck.
For the one and only Padawan J.
Go Army, beat Air Force.
I'm your host, Ken M. Go Bills. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.